All right, well, buckle up, friends. Today's going to be a heavy hitter for many of you. This is not a light topic, and for some of you, it might be very triggering. So if this is not your cup of tea, just know we have way lighter subjects and other podcasts you can check out. But today's episode, I do want to warn you, there's going to be talks of child abuse and other things of that nature. So again, if this isn't your cup of tea, please check out. We got way lighter stuff for you to enjoy. But if you do want to learn about Ruby Franke and all the wild stories therein, please stay tuned and grab yourself a seat here at the table. Let me introduce the round here. We got Cam,
hey,
Chris,
hello,
Tony,
hey,
Zach,
hola,
and myself, Austin. And this story was captivating to say none the least when it first came out. Very shocking for millions of people. Mm-hmm. And I immediately was drawn to it. As many of you guys know, my wife and I vlog. We run a family vlog. Cam and his family, they run a vlog. And many of you guys are probably here from those channels. And so...
I have a family.
You do have a family. Congratulations.
Someone did ask. They're like, why can't we see more of Chris, Tony, and Zach's family? Well, sorry.
That's a good question. Go ahead. Yeah.
I don't have an answer. I don't
start
vlog.
a family vlog. All right. You got 4 kids. It's crazy.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But I did want to kind of open it up because being that we are YouTubers and that we've run multiple channels together, we have definitely gone to conventions, and in doing so, we have actually crossed paths with Ruby and Kevin, which was, I mean, I honestly don't have too much memory of Ruby herself because she always seemed, and granted, like this is not tainting what I'm saying. When I met her, it looked like she was always out for like helping herself.
Oh yeah.
And so like when I met her, it was like, oh, you're smaller than me. I don't care about you. Like kind of like just move on. And which is fine. I get that. I get that, you know, the flip side of that as well. And so, but Kevin, I remember I had met Kevin a few different times. And he always was just kind of like standoffish, kind of quiet, but he would always engage. He was always really nice and cordial, but nothing like crazy there. But having also met Ruby's extended family through many other channels and conventions, you probably met the other. Do you remember? I don't want to mention names. Maybe, I mean, I could.
I'm sure I did, but I don't know who her extended family is.
Oh, you don't?
I remember meeting them.
E and
Okay.
J.
And I do.
Yeah. So okay. For those that don't know, 8 Passengers was their vlog channel, but actually they started vlogging, I want to say, well after 2 other of the family members that I know of, maybe even a third. So
she does have 3 sisters.
Yeah. So they had Ellie and Jared were like the big ones.
Yeah.
And then,
Which Kara watched them all the time.
oh, okay.
And I had no clue they were brothers sisters until I started going into this.
Yeah,
so.
sister. They're just sisters.
sisters. Yeah, sorry.
And then,
Oh yeah, I remember. I remember them.
Her other sister started doing her YouTube stuff, which is Bonnie.
Dude, I could totally see the Ellie resemblance now.
Oh yeah. So anyway, through the course of all this, I had met for the most part, their entire family, and from what I could always gather, their families were always very much about their own self-pride, which I was never really a fan of. There were moments when I had really great interactions with Jared, but then on the flip side, you're just like, I don't really know who you are or how to take you.
It was that. I don't know how to put this, but I mean, we all know it because we live in Utah.
Yeah.
It's that like stereotypical kind of Mormon mom that people don't like.
Yes.
Like it's the wrong message that they send.
Like
Put themselves on a pedestal.
Yes.
The pedestal moms.
Yeah, the Stepford wives kind of like we're perfect. We do, our kids don't eat dye and sugar. I don't know. Something weird like that. But like in a way of, in the sense of they're not doing it for their children, they're doing it to be better than you.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
For reputation.
It was all, it was
Exactly.
like we run the perfect family. You do not, and we're gonna be
But
better
only
than
because
you
we
are.
want to be better than you, not because we want our family to be good.
Exactly.
Like that's the vibe you get from
Yeah.
these types of people.
Yeah, it almost felt very.
Sadly, they do exist.
Yeah.
What's the like Stepford Wives? I've never seen the movie, but that's
seen that
always the
one.
reference I
It's
get.
basically they're robots, aren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like
the
the
women, they're
wives.
robots and they're programmed to be the perfect wife.
That's kind of the vibe you get.
Yeah.
And it's Anyway, also I do want to point out the elephant in the room. If you don't watch Men Try or the vlog, hello curly hair. Anyway,
That's a woolly mammoth, dude.
dude, it's a crazy. There will
70s
be
Bush.
That's a woolly mammoth upside down right there.
there will be comedic relief throughout this episode. Like it's going to be heavy, but I will try and spin in little tiny bits of comedic.
We can't change who we are.
We can't. Yeah.
This is how we deal with dark stuff. Is we have
Go
to
to
make
some
fun
of our
it.
other
This is
dark
how we deal with
episodes.
everything.
Find any episode that Zach has hosted. It's dark, and we can make it funny.
Yeah, we do our best.
I got a joke for you. No, I'm just
Wait for the next one. Wait for the next one.
No, just never.
No.
Never.
No.
Not
All
that
right.
one.
So, I mean, as many of you, especially if you're on YouTube for a while, you know, vlogging really kind of took off like mid 2010s. That's kind of like when all the big names started coming out. And from my research, this is just what I've gathered, and kind of what we've already hit on is Ruby saw this as like her chance to become this perfect mom that the world loved. And that's kind of the double-sided sword that she kind of dealt with, because like, as you'll find out, it gets heavy. But and feel free to interject with anything you guys want to. I don't want to be the only one leading this.
yeah.
So
Oh yeah, you could see you like watching the documentary, because a lot of this is knowledge has come from that documentary.
Yeah.
Was it The Devil?
the devil in my family.
No, the devil in the house. I
The
thought.
house. That's
Devil
what
in
it
the House, the fall of Ruby Franke, basically, and like, yeah. So you can see the gleam in her eyes in the very beginning. Like it's almost like the equivalent of like Scrooge McDuck when he sees money and he gets the dollar signs. Like you literally see that in her eyes.
Krusty Krab.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, this is a kid show.
Yeah, but you know the secret ingredient, right?
Well, it's like,
Crab.
yeah.
We
The
don't-
actual
we don't-
Krusty Krab itself is a crab trap.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Such a creepy show.
No, I was gonna say, like, it says in that documentary that like Ruby's like she wanted to be viewed as the perfect mom, and she wasn't getting enough praise in her everyday life. So that's what kind of sparked her doing the channel.
Oh, yeah. It was like the perfect platform to feed that
Ego.
Yeah, the ego.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but before they started the
See how
YouTube
great
channel,
I am.
I did see what I did find interesting was the story of how Kevin and Ruby met, which is so Kevin was one of the possible suitors that Ruby had kind of
this was-
like narrowed out of all these other gentlemen.
Put a paper on the wall.
Yeah, and so Kevin found this hidden
Almost like a shrine in her closet.
It was like a chart in her closet that on the vertical axis you had all the traits that she loved. And then across the top, the name of the suitors. And she had filled in each of the corresponding squares and tried to like figure out.
It probably had at least 10 guys maybe.
Oh yeah. And the the personality traits that she wanted it looked crazy long.
Ridiculous. And here's the thing. I mean, we've heard about these kinds of things before. Anytime someone brings up a man that has a list of things he wants in his wife, they call him out. They say he's like skeezy. Oh, what a sleazeball. Like he just wants all these dumb things, blah, 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 blah. This lady's got a giant poster in her freaking closet.
It's
multiple
color
men
coordinated.
on it.
Like-
Color coordinated. Huge list. And everyone's like, oh, that's so fun. It's like, what a freak, dude.
And the one
And this wasn't even like I could totally
supposed
see
to
like
have
a
goals.
junior high, maybe high school age girl doing something like this for fun.
This is college,
This
right?
was This was
they
like
were-
young 20s.
Yeah, because they got married at 21, I believe.
yeah,
if I
something.
remember right.
I can't remember the ages, but
Yeah.
the one that creeped me out the most that she had one there was Wild About Me. And she had like that filled out. Anyway, what ended up happening was Kevin came across this chart, took notes down, and he went home and he said he studied the heck out of it
Oh no.
to basically become the perfect suitor for her.
Yep.
I hate him.
It ended up working because they're in, what was it, 2000? Let me check my notes here. Oh, yeah. So their engagement ended up happening October of 2000, and they were married on December 28th, 2000. So their engagement was hardly 3 months.
Yeah.
And I mean, one thing to note is he did mention in that time, like he wasn't a very outgoing person. Like he wasn't.
He said he
very-
was a geek.
Yeah, he was a
Yeah.
geek. He was very soft spoken, hesitant to like, he was an introvert, all this stuff. And so being around her made him feel better. Like it made him feel more outgoing and, like
A whip
her
dog.
her energy and charisma
For
and stuff
real.
kind of like,
That sounds like a whip.
he was a simp, dude.
Yeah,
he was a simp.
100%.
What is a simp?
1000%.
It's a simpleton.
Basically, it's, yeah. It's
I know
someone.
what a simpleton is.
Yeah, it's those guys that'll like do anything just because for like an attractive girl,
In other words, it's an old term for pussy whipped.
Basically,
We
there
call
it is.
them a.
Yeah, or bitch. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
You can say it in this one. It's dark enough. This is going to have to
Okay.
be adult rated.
gonna say me too.
What?
Me and Tony looked at
just
each
go,
other.
I
and
won.
Oh, we know. I'm just kidding.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room.
You mean the woolly mammoth?
Hey, watch it. No, I'm kidding. I crack jokes too. It's too funny. Okay, so then they're in about 5 years into their relationship. 15. 15 years into their relationship is when they started 8 passengers. And its growth, I guess, kind of started slow. And then what really kind of caught Kevin's eye, because in watching it, and I totally understand this, is, he comes home from work, he walks in, and Ruby's got the camera, and he just looks defeated. Like, he's like, I just want to come home,
wanna
relax on the couch, and she's got the camera in my face. And he's like, and I just want to spend time with my wife, but now I got to spend time with not only her, but also the camera. And
well, that's what he said is, and the kids said that too, is every time they'd come home, she had the camera going.
yeah, that's too
He
much.
said it started to get to the point where he was no longer interacting with her as it was now the camera.
Yes. And so he just, he kind of just went through the motions, would just deal with it at the time. But eventually they got their very first paycheck from YouTube. And he said it was something like $80.
Yeah, $8.
Wasn't much.
Something small.
But it was the fuel to the fire that he needed. And so all of a sudden it was like, oh, wow, this is cool. Like, we're actually making money doing this thing. And so then he actually started getting more and more on board. And then that's when the channel started really taking off. It's because they started putting more energy into that channel. And he said it went from, $80 to $2,000 a month, up to $8,000 a month. And then at their peak, they're hitting 6 figures a month on the channel, which is insanity.
Yeah.
Wait, you get paid to do YouTube?
What? What?
Well, and they were,
You guys are getting paid?
That's how it feels, huh? You guys are getting paid? That's great.
yeah, in the documentary when it showed actual like bank statements, deposits in each month, I was like, holy crap! Like,
Yeah.
and the
There's
fact
a
that
reason.
and the fact that they jumped to 1 million followers after one simple video of the baby crawling out of the crib,
Oh, yeah.
like,
yeah.
that's what did it. And then all of a sudden, bam! It was just from there,
Yeah.
just went off.
Well, and that's always kind of what's frustrated me about YouTube is I feel like we, especially on Mentra, I feel like we put out some pretty quality content.
Yeah, we put effort into it.
And it's like we've had a few videos pop off, but never, we're still way away from 1 million subscribers. Like,
Halfway there.
That is like crazy,
Well,
you
and
know?
it's the same thing that we talked about. You remember Chase when they did their stuff, him
Yeah.
and his buddy, and they were just doing reaction videos to songs. And it was like, he was like, yeah, we started a YouTube video and stuff. Check it out. And we went on and looked at it. He was up to like 200,000-300,000 views at some points on one of his. And it's like, how in the hell
Yeah.
did you
Dude,
do
it
this?
makes
Like-
it's It's the elusive algorithm. It makes zero sense.
I've been chasing it for a decade.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on,
Bruh.
man. How do I
Bruh.
not? How can I not figure this stupid thing out? Anyway, I'm not greedy.
Wait,
but-
Chase? Chase does?
He
Not
did.
anymore.
Not anymore. They were.
They
for a
started
little bit.
it close to about the time we started this,
Oh.
and they
Yeah.
but they skyrocketed.
And then they just gave up?
Yep.
Well, I think the one friend got married, and then that was it.
Loser.
Look at us, still going strong.
Yeah.
Give a shit.
Don't
for-
don't let marriage ruin your dreams. I'm happily married.
Let YouTube.
Don't let
is
your
a
wife
step
start a
to your
podcast.
dreams.
Happily married who still leaves water cups all over the
That's
place.
a
right?
that's a jab at her calling in about me.
Don't worry, we'll get her back.
I'm gonna leave more cups around the house.
We'll do it sign style everywhere.
So let's see here. So the let's see. Sorry, I'm burning through my notes.
Well, I
here.
just remember because so 8 passengers.
Yes.
It pops off. They start seeing. I mean, yeah. Once he starts seeing the checks kind of keep coming and they keep getting bigger, he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh wow!" Like, yeah,
Well,
this
that-
is a big thing.
It was kind of around that time they started to pinpoint that their one son, Chad, was kind of the
Yeah.
he was the one
He was the
bringing in
popular
views.
one. Like
He was cute, he was athletic, he was funny, he was outgoing, like, and so they just knew that if it was Chad, and I forgot the other oldest daughter's name, but if they were
Sherry.
on
Yeah, Sherry.
Sherry.
if they were on the thumbnail, they knew that that was going to get the most watches. So they were usually the
stars.
ones.
Yeah. And I mean, we've seen that on our vlog as well. It's like, if I'm in the thumbnail, unless it's like something to do with me almost dying,
Ain't nobody want to see you.
ain't nobody want to see
Bro,
me.
it's so weird.
But if Jess is in the thumbnail, 100% way better performance.
Duh.
If my kids are in it, not so much. Like it's Jess is the money maker
Really?
on the channel. Yeah, 100%.
More than the kids, huh?
Well, and I mean, I think it's just because we've catered our channel to being more about Jess and I than about the kids. Like the kids are there, but it's not necessarily about them.
Gotcha.
And so, and I think that's because honestly, when all this stuff kind of came to light, there was a lot of questions towards us. Like, well, what are you guys going to do? What are you going to do about YouTube? Because you guys vlog. Like, are you? And there were we got a lot of comments from like random viewers like, oh, you're exploiting your children. And I'm like, no, we're not. Like they're in it because they want to be in it.
It's like they live here.
they're in
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
So,
they're
like-
in it because they want to be. They're in the room. They see the camera on and they're like, "Hey, what's going on?"
Yeah, it's not like we're throwing the camera on them and saying, hey, do this, do that. It's like we're filming and they're like behind us or, I don't know. We'll even go into a separate room away from them and start filming. And then they'll find they come into the room. They're like, hey, what's
what
up?
are you doing? Why aren't you looking at me yet? No, and we always had like we have the rule, obviously, like especially with Kaylee being older, like you have 1,000% consent of what goes in and what doesn't
Yes.
if you're involved.
Yeah.
Like you can tell us. Like we film something and you're just like, I don't want that in there. It's like, cool, we'll do something else.
Yeah.
And that's the issue that Ruby Franke had is she didn't give consent. It was whatever she wanted would go in there, embarrassing or however it was. And it was even to the point where, God, what it showed that one video where she was talking with Chad. Chad, is that his name? The oldest
Chad,
son?
the oldest son.
Yeah, and she was talking to him, and he just wasn't giving anything. She just stops and goes, "I need you to be more enthusiastic."
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She 1,000% played
Yeah.
the director in a painful way.
Well,
Oh, it was
yeah.
wild seeing that old footage.
Yeah, and she
Even
was getting after him, and then there was even one point where, her and her husband were talking, and like her husband was like,
Oh yeah.
he screwed up a little bit, and all of a sudden her face just dropped.
Or he wouldn't look at the camera.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm sorry, I've got this, and all of a sudden you just see Penna. Okay, let's go, and immediately her face changes, smile, everything, and it's right back into it. I'm like, oh, you bitch.
Yeah.
Dude, she had such a punchable face in those
Yeah.
old videos. Like every time
yeah.
she's like holding up the markers. And then she's like, stop it, I'm filming. I'm like, girl, I want to hit you so bad.
You are taking this.
What
way
is all
too
that
seriously.
racket? We're getting ready for church. Like,
Yeah,
it's
for
just like,
real.
It's
Oh my-
12:30. We're running late.
yeah. She's like, you know, you're not supposed to talk when I'm filming.
Yeah.
Dude, that part was insane to me.
So the whole idea of Chad and Sherry being the main drivers of the channel, because what happens on YouTube is you start to learn your audience. You get a demographic. For the majority of men try and stuff like that, the majority of our viewers are mature adults. They're, 18 up to 45, maybe a little bit older, but that's our primary demographic is that age range. And so we know that, and we can play our videos to that audience. And 8 Passengers, their audience was female tweens for the majority. And that's why Chad was so popular, especially on the thumbnails, is because he was like the little teenage heartthrob.
Little heartthrob.
And so Ruby knew that because she could see it in the analytics, and she played the card, and she forced the hand and kind of made him the poster boy of the channel.
And you could see how checked out he was.
Oh,
every
100%.
time they
100%.
filmed, like he was just like,
Yeah.
like you just could tell he did not want to do it.
The part that, one sec. Actually, I'll share it now. The part that really ticked me off was there was a scene where they were in the van. I think they were on vacation, and you could just see like the kids were all defeated. Like they're like, I just want a vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
From
like
you.
she's shoving the camera in our face, and we're doing all these things, and then you see the unedited footage, right? Where she turns around, she's like, "Do you want your $10?"
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like $10. That's it. That's all you're paying these kids, and you're
bringing
making
in
per video,
6
you're raking
figures
it
a
in.
freaking month.
Oh.
Oh my! I was wanting to choke her through the screen.
Ridiculous.
But so on top of all that, because of their claim to fame and their rise to on YouTube themselves on Mother's Day put her as like the poster mother.
that's right, yeah.
Happy Mother's Day to the best mother in the world, or whatever was their caption. It was a picture of the 8 Passengers there.
Aged like milk.
And that was like, that's what she wanted. That was her ultimate goal. She wanted to be the mother of the world and to be seen as like this perfect person. And obviously,
She
Well,
wanted
and
to be
this-
idolized.
Was this
Yeah.
this was the time that they had moved to Happy Valley, right?
Springville.
No, they were there the whole time.
Yeah.
Well, no, they
Not
they
quite.
moved
Well,
from one house to a bigger one.
Yeah.
Oh, but it
they
was
were
still in
far
Springville.
away.
That's right.
Yeah,
It was
in
just like a different block.
Yeah, they moved a block down the road.
But like just like even her neighbors who were like, I guess friends kind of, like they all knew that. They all noticed this. Like she would go out on walks and be filming herself and talking, and it's like, but she wouldn't really interact with her neighbors unless it was to her benefit kind of thing.
Same
like-
thing with Kevin, the dad. What was it? The one neighbor, they interviewed him, and he's like, we didn't have a single interaction together with me and him. Like, we did not talk whatsoever.
Yeah.
So
Were they playing like they were always talking to the neighbors or something? Was it like contradictory to something they had said, or just saying that they just kept to themselves?
it was pretty much like through the entire videos, like they listed it off that they were just this, like we talked about, a good Mormon family who had friends and everybody up the wazoo and all this stuff. But then you talk to the neighbors and everybody's like, I don't know who this family is. They don't talk to us. We don't,
Yeah, they knew of them and what they were doing, but like it was a very surface level like connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very fake.
Except with like some of the kids. Like the 2 older kids kind of had Sherry, I think more so, had a little bit more of a relationship with some of the neighbors.
Yeah.
And that'll come into play later.
Yeah. That's that's where it starts getting crazy. Anyway.
Diving in the shallow end of the pool, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Right now we're just, getting our toes just a little bit wet. We're building the story here.
Yeah.
So yeah, as we mentioned, Chad's growing resentment. He hated being on camera, getting to the point where, basically Ruby would be filming the 2 of them talking, and she would be basically feeding him lines to say, like, I need you to be happy. I need you to do these things. And there was at one point, one that really ticked me off, dude, is he's sitting there and she's like, I need you to fake it.
Oh, yeah. He goes,
Yes.
I need you to be happy, but I'm not happy. Then fake being happy.
Then fake being happy.
Yeah.
And even then he's like, I can't. He's like, I can't even do that.
Yeah.
And
How
then
old was he at that time?
he had to have been,
Had 12,
Maybe
13,
yeah, 13, 14,
something
young
like that.
teens.
and at that
Jesus.
point, like, I so badly just wanted to give that kid a hug.
Yeah.
Cause it's like, get the hint, woman.
Yeah.
Like,
He's essentially being used
yeah.
completely by his mother to make her a buttload of money.
Oh man. And so anyway, as this growing resentment
Gross.
grows,
I know you didn't want to say it.
I didn't.
Allow myself to introduce myself.
So as this resentment grew, there was just more and more division. He started becoming super, what's the word?
Defiant.
Yeah, he would say the exact opposite.
Yeah, he was purposefully trying to make it hard for her to film.
Yeah.
He was trying to do everything
Mess
she
up
didn't
the
want him to do,
lines
mess up the line, interrupt things. Like, I get it, dude. I would 1000% be that kid.
Oh yeah. I don't know any teenager that wouldn't.
Right.
That's the problem. Is that's a teenager.
Exactly.
Like, that's the definition.
It's the
man.
final cry for help, really.
Yeah.
Like,
And so in then comes Jody Hildebrand, right? Satan in second form.
Freaking Quasimodo.
So Ruby was help me out here if I don't really recall how she found Jody
it
Hildebrand.
was through a friend.
Yeah.
Or,
Oh,
it was a friend or a sister.
Through a friend.
It was through a friend
Yeah.
that she was like, Chad needs help, and she's like, oh, like, I know the perfect person, because Jody had started putting up, or she
She
had
was a
You-
therapist.
Yeah, but she had a YouTube channel too, and what drew the eye to her was that she would be like right to the point. She wouldn't sugarcoat it, and they liked that. They liked that she was right between the eyes kind of thing.
She was very much like Ruby Franke.
Yes.
Like how Ruby liked to discipline. Because again, like a big part of the channel is people noticed, like, she was known for her strict parenting style.
Yeah.
That came through on the channel. And so Jody kind of aligned with those beliefs. So she's like, oh, perfect. I can get him with this therapist who will essentially echo my same thoughts and beliefs.
Yeah.
Well, and real quick, in between all that, you had the point where Chad got expelled from school.
That's right.
That comes up at a later point.
Is that
No, I
after?
thought it
I
was-
thought that was
that
before
comes-
they met.
I thought it was right
No.
before.
No,
Because I
that
thought it
comes
was the
after.
suspensions and stuff that it was like finally like,
I want to say that was after because that eventually that leads up to them almost sending him to military camp.
Yeah.
Or military school.
and so that's what I thought Jody was the final. Oh,
that was
okay.
part of
Well,
Jody's.
There was one in the middle because I read the book by Sherry Franke,
okay.
and it was actually kind of cool. So the Netflix, the Hulu one, kind of dives into more of Ruby and Chad's relationship,
Yes.
as well as Kevin's and everything. Her book actually showed a lot from her side, of course, because it's
Yeah.
from her.
It's
and
her.
everything.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of neat to see that different side of it, but a lot of it aligned. And during that time too, so she had at one point she had downloaded Snapchat without her mom knowing because she got a boyfriend at school.
Oh.
And her mom, like, they got pissed off about that, took her phone away. I mean, it is what it is. It's natural kid things and stuff like that. Like, some parents will probably do that. And then they end up finding out that she was dating this boy and kissing. So they removed her from the school completely.
Oh, really?
And she flat out told Sherry at the time, she said, this isn't what you do. You don't be going off and doing this. You're going to not set yourself up for a husband. Your husband's not going to want you.
You're impure?
You're a floozy, basically.
Pure.
Yeah, pretty much.
Man,
You're
a mudblood.
You're going to go do this.
Mug.
And so because of that, she put him in. They took him to Chad's school. So at that point, Chad was in a different school.
Oh, okay.
Because he had gotten pulled from the public school, and he was in that. So she sent him, put them in the two schools together, and then she actually found a guy who basically she's like, I had no love interest with him. We would just go make out, and she's like, and I did it just to piss off Ruby, and I hope she'd find out.
The
type
big
thing.
middle finger.
Yeah, she talked about it in the book all the time, and she's like, I felt bad because Ruby really instilled into these kids, like you have the LDS religion, and there's things that we abide by, and there's a lot of things where it's between you, your parents, and God. Like, but the way Ruby put it into perspective, it was like 10 times above where it should have been. And it was like, man, if you're out there making out with a boy, you're a sinner. You need to go talk to God, and you need to talk to your bishop, and you need to figure it out because you're a slut.
You need to talk to me, and I'll
Like-
talk to God, and I'll tell you what he says. Then I'll come back.
Yeah. And I mean, it's the same thing. Like if Katie were to come home and talk to Kara or let it slip, like, yeah, 15 years old, I made out with the boy last night.
Was it gross?
I'd look at her and say, well, how do you feel? I don't know, it was all right. And I'm like, you gonna do it again? Probably. Okay, great. It's part of, like, as much as it sucks,
Okay,
it's part
great.
of growing up. We all did it.
I didn't.
Like,
Not by choice.
Bro,
Yeah, my first one was not like
I do not consent. I do not consent.
oh yeah, that was the.
at that time,
was the
everyone's like,
power
what's that
lady,
word
wasn't
mean?
it?
Yeah, no one knew what that word meant back then. They're like, "Shut up, Tony."
Yeah, that was the one that just grabbed you by the shoulders and pinned you against the wall.
Yep.
No, take my
exaggerating.
tongue and like it.
Don't stop. Don't stop. I will correct. So apparently he was sent away to like a wilderness,
camp. Yes. Yeah.
first.
Yes.
Yes.
So he was
the
sent away to that.
The wilderness camp was a therapy retreat, though.
Yeah. And he hated it, obviously.
Yes.
But that was before Jody became part of it. Jody didn't get in there until like 2021.
Yeah.
According to this. Yeah. Or late 2021. So it was after he had returned from his behavioral camp that Ruby sent him to in 2020.
That's right. It's hard keeping all these facts.
It is. There's just
there's
so
so
much.
So much.
Yeah.
So much that happened in that household.
Yeah. So as you said, Jody kind of came into the picture, and it was almost like Ruby and Jody just mirrored each other on their parenting styles, their ethics, and all it did was just throw more fuel onto the fire.
Just amplified their
Yeah.
psycho.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
like it says here, like viewers started to see it, that the way her strict parenting methods, like public shaming, enforcing harsh punishments, things like that.
Yeah. So eventually it got to the point where Chad and his resentment eventually got all of his electronics taken away. Previously, where he was kind of like where he was the poster boy of the channel, he was also heavily into sports. And basically, Chad was the kid that Kevin wished he was as a growing
Oh,
up.
yeah.
He was good looking. He was into sports. He was comfortable talking to the ladies. Just kind of like, the son every father wants, basically. And
He's
but in
living, what do they call it, vicariously?
Vicariously.
yeah, vicariously, and bi-curiously. Just kidding. But yeah, so he eventually got all of his electronics taken away: his phone, his music players, and stuff, computer. What else did he get taken away? Oh, he was no longer allowed to play in sports.
Yeah.
And then he eventually even got his bedroom taken away.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was the biggest
Yeah,
biggest thing.
and so he got the choice of either sleeping in the living room, which I'm assuming is on the couch, or in the basement on this beanbag. And he chose the beanbag and slept on it for like 7 months.
7 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
That tells you something.
Yeah.
Well,
As
and that
far away
honestly,
as you can.
Yep.
that's
That he chose the
Isolation.
beanbag.
Yeah, it's just he's isolating himself.
so it's that there's that video where Ruby is talking to Chad and she's talking about how like our part of our family, the way our family works is if you don't have the maturity to like control something or own something, then it gets taken away.
Yeah.
And she even looked at like Sherry, I think was in the video too. And she's like, when have I given you back something you lost in less than 6 months? Like laughing about it.
off.
And the son's like, oh, I haven't had my bedroom for like 7 months. And she's like, I don't think our fans know that.
Yeah.
Like it's a normal freaking thing.
Yeah.
Well,
You psycho.
and in Sherry's book, she actually talks about that. She dives into that, and she goes, so I guess their, whatever you call it, the editor or whatever, their manager, so it's because they had a manager at that point, and I guess he called Ruby and was like, you shouldn't post this. Like, we need to get rid of that portion. And she's like, no. It's about, because at that point, I believe Jody was in the picture. And Jody was talking about being truthful and honest, and this is how we are, and being upfront. She goes, no. It's all a part about being honest and truthful. She goes, I think we can play upon it and, let people know that this is how our family is. So she had every right to take it down, and she didn't. She played on it, went with it, and it was within
Caught fire.
24 hours. They went from over 2 million subscribers down to like 100,000. or something.
Yeah,
like
it was
that.
like maybe they dropped like 100,000. I can't remember.
No, it was insane to the point where like literally it was done.
Yeah.
That video killed their YouTube.
yeah,
Just done.
As it should have.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
the way I think it was the way Chad said it is somehow the algorithm caught that this video was very captivating and intriguing, and so it just
Controversial.
fed it. That's the word.
Yeah.
And they just fed it, and all of a sudden people are like, "This lady's crazy. This is what child abuse looks like." Just all the
And
comments
that's
are
when
just flooding.
it hit all of us. I remember seeing that video and being like, what the freak?
Yeah.
I'm like, we've met these people. They're from Utah. What is going on?
Yeah, it was crazy.
You can only fake
And-
it so long.
Yeah. Well, and yes, and what's going on? Oh, here.
Well, bud, were you trying to create some controversy here?
He was
Hey.
unbuttoning himself. I just,
I was trying to show all 8 chest hairs.
Bare your soul.
This reminds me. Sorry.
Sorry.
I don't want to forget this. I have a bad habit of forgetting what I'm talking about. Points. This reminds me of. Did you guys remember that channel of the girl with the dog? I don't remember her name at all, but I remember a few years ago, similar thing. This lady, her channel was really popular about her and her dog, and I think she had like a Doberman, and it was all these like really cute, like, oh, look at us, and we're so fun and playful together. And the idiot, for the better, uploaded the raw footage rather than the edited video. And it shows her like, having fun with her Doberman. And all of a sudden she just turns around and starts punching the dog.
Oh.
And like slapping it and spitting on it. And she's like, listen to me. And all this stuff. And then she's like, okay, take 2. And then she'd like go back into it and she just would start wailing on the dog when it wouldn't listen. Oh my God. And it reminds me of that. It's the like, and it makes me so curious.
It's the dark side of it all. Like,
Yes. It makes me so curious how
have to
many
tell it
creators that are out there.
wait, what did you say?
What'd you say?
You shouldn't have to tell it twice.
Oh, cool.
Good Lord, Chris.
I'm just kidding.
The raw footage. You listen to me.
You should
That's
see what
right.
happens when all these cameras are off.
Take 2.
You should see me just start wailing on Chris.
You think that's funny? Get back in your cage.
Told you to wax your eyebrows.
You see a little flicker of edit, and then come back. Chris is just.
I got my eyes twitching. Oh gosh.
I fell.
You shouldn't ever do that.
I fell into a doorknob.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. But it makes me so curious how many psychopaths are actually out
Yeah,
there
right.
that
There's a lot.
are able to keep up the facade.
It's like we've always been told, even when it comes down to social media and everything. People show you what they want to show you. You don't see the other part of their life.
Yeah.
Or even to
So-
the extent of like in our own stuff. Obviously, we clean the house before we film.
Yeah.
But like the rest of the time, it is a disaster. Yeah. Like it is horrific. I don't even want people walking in the door.
Yeah.
But that's what you got to do. Like nobody wants to just put your dirty house out on the internet. But some take it to a much farther extreme to where they're a completely different human being when that camera's on.
I mean, it's a
versus
similar
in life.
Yeah, it's a similar concept as to going to work, right? Like you're not
Yeah.
going to show up looking like a hobo. Like, you're going
Chris.
to become presentable. I mean, Chris is the exception. But I mean,
My wife loves me.
no one wants to see an unkept person,
Yeah.
managing their, financial portfolio or, you're going to show the best parts of yourself. Anyway.
I was going to say on the house thing how one of the kids was saying like it felt like a movie set. They
Yeah.
replaced all their light bulbs with the bright white lights. Everything had to constantly be cleaned. They scrubbed floorboards and all that kind of stuff. And she's like, it didn't feel like a home. It was a movie set. But
As funny as it is, I totally get that because when we moved into this house, first thing I did, I replaced all the lights with daylight bulbs.
Oh,
Because
man.
I get the filming aspect. It
Well,
makes it look so much better.
and that's
But
the
you
thing
have
that
a
sucks.
section.
yeah.
That's true. But that's the thing that sucks
And that's
too.
why I
is-
have smart bulbs, so I can change the colors. I'm like, okay, I'm sick and tired of this daylight shit.
Well, and like
two.
watching this documentary and being vloggers ourselves, it's like you see similarities, which is obviously going to happen. But then you sit there and question. You're like, are we doing something wrong? But it's like, no, it's
But
this
you're not
woman
converting-
exploited and like took it to the extreme.
You're showing people parts of your life. You're not changing your entire life for this.
Exactly.
For this
Yeah, and that's
blog.
exactly.
That's exactly what she did. She
Yeah,
revolved she switched her entire life and her family and kids to revolve around YouTube and that channel.
Mm-hmm. And her reputation.
Yes, and her
If
reputation.
I ever yelled at my kid for anything filming wise, I immediately be like,
We're done.
okay, no
Yeah.
longer doing this.
Well,
Yeah.
and it even goes back to, sorry, I know we were getting on like the whole Jody thing and
You're
stuff,
good.
but going back a little bit. So in Sherry's book, she actually, I didn't know this. Did you know that she had her own YouTube channel?
yeah,
Yeah. So she created her YouTube channel and she asked her mom, like, hey, can you help me out and stuff? And her mom looked at her flat out and said, no, I did it all on my own. You can do it all on your own. And she's like, well, okay, like, that's great. Can we maybe do a shout out, or can we link on the 8s of passengers? Like, can we link it to my channel, whatever? She goes, when you hit 100,000 followers, then I'll shout you out and then I'll link you. But before that, I don't deal with anybody who's 100,000 or less.
and that's
And
the
yes.
exact
Exactly the
mentality that.
reputation.
Like, I didn't even want like a shout out. Like, I just was like being cordial, hanging out, meeting people.
Yeah.
And she was just like, no, don't talk to me.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
see you later.
And it was like, it's her own daughter was pleading with her, like, can you just please give me a shout out, or can you help me
Yeah.
out? And then the sad part was, I think at one point she did hit 100,000 followers, or she was about to. And her mom looked at her and said, oh, I can finally shout you out in one of my videos. Just like that. Oh, you witch.
Yeah.
Like, seriously. And then,
See you next Tuesday.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
For real.
and then there was another part with her too, where like she was even trying to go off on like talking to her mom, and she's like, she's seeing all of her friends going out, and like their moms would go shopping and their moms would go to lunch and stuff like that. And she'd see that connection of a mother-daughter, where it's, that friendship a little bit, but at the same time as a parent, and you're learning to grow and you're learning from her mom. And she asked her mom one time, she's like, can we go to lunch or something like that and, do something or whatever? And she goes, I'm not your friend. I am your mom, and we will not do that stuff. When you're 18, then we can be friends and we can go to lunch. Yeah, like I was like, all that was detailed in her book, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, like,
Dude, some of my best conversations with my kid
Yeah.
are taking him to lunch and you just
right? And
chatter.
that right there, we talked about it a little bit, I think, before we started, is what pisses me off about the dad. He had to see this stuff going on.
How did you
And
not?
at what point do you just look at her and say, stop?
He studied
Your
too hard how to be the
kids.
perfect husband. So he himself was being fake and falling into a role to where that's just who he was now. So
Yeah. Well,
it's just
She's turning a blind eye.
The hard part, because not to defend him, because this is not.
I'm
a
not
defense of
defending him
at all.
either.
No. I'm saying what I'm about to say is not defending him, but like he was also kind of forced into Jody's world, and he became part of that like men's connections, like video chat thing. It was like an open therapy session for like a group of men.
Yeah.
beta males.
Yeah, 1000%.
Well, but backing up before that, though, we're kind of jumping a little bit. The connections thing.
Yeah.
So Jody, the therapist, she created Connections, which was like a group therapy, but it was mostly women.
Like a pyramid scheme group
Yeah,
therapy.
dude.
Basically, yeah, it was like borderline cult-like.
Yeah.
But the thing is wasn't it Kevin? Was it him that he went to one of the meetings one time, and he was like, "This is like a man hating."
Yeah.
Well, at the very beginning, when they started meeting with Jody, I want to say he was put up on a pedestal. Like,
Oh yes,
he was the best husband.
he was the
Well, this
example.
was
and
before
that's-
that. This was before Ruby and Kevin became a part of it. When Ruby was first just going to Jody's things, like before she actually became one of her like spotlighted people, they were
Zealots.
just going. It was like showing that, like,
It's true.
gosh, I forget the names. Jody, I keep wanting to say Julie, but Jody, she like you could almost get the vibe that she hated men.
Well, she was divorced.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she would like
But like even on her YouTube channel, so even before the in-person thing, it would show her talking to people, and it was just like it was always making the guy out to be the bad guy, and she was causing divorces. And in the Hulu series, they're interviewing another therapist who worked with Jody, and he said he's like, it took me a little bit to see it. He's like, but then when you started to see it, he's like, she is hurting these families.
Well, in I can't remember if it was Sherry's book or the Hulu series. There was at one point where they talked about Jody. She was talking to this guy. It was supposed to be a relationship between husband and wife, and he opened up to her. I can't remember what it was about, maybe cheating on his wife or something stupid and something weird. And she went beyond patient confidentiality and like exploited him and turned him in to the point where she actually lost her license for a little bit. She got suspended, lost her license because she got turned in. But the damage was already done, and it caused a divorce between that couple. It caused him his his stance with his neighbors and all that stuff. Like and pretty much just ruined this guy's life. Like she went beyond that patient confidentiality because he owned up to something, and it was man bashing at that point. And she did everything she could. And I want to say that like they talked to him or something like that, and he was just like, yeah, it was what it was the whole time. It was always against me, man bashing, and peace out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then now jumping back a little bit or forward, so then Ruby and Kevin kind of became Judy's kind of spot. Jody, thank you. I'm never
Judy.
Well, I thought it was Julie. Julie, Jody.
All synonymous.
But then they became kind of her like spotlight couple, so to speak.
Yes.
Well, and I think that's another reason why her and Ruby became friends, because Jody was obviously exploiting their following on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
You know, she latched on to, they had 2.5 million followers. She latched onto them, created a good reputation. It's like, oh, let me make you like one of our, kind of like their higher ups in this connections group. And even they interviewed the other ones, and they're like, we don't understand like why these people are here already. Like we had to work. We've been here for years to be part of this. And they just kind of got up to the front of the line immediately for no reason. And it was because of their following. Yeah. You know, Jody could exploit that.
Oh, 100%.
Exploiters got exploited
Yeah.
with exploitation.
It's a pyramid scheme all over.
But yes, and then
And that was 2020, right?
This was all.
Yeah, it was late
2020 and after, yeah.
Yeah.
Late
then they
2020 is
did
when it
start
started.
the online therapy sessions for men, where it like showed it, and it was like if you're on the screen, it was like a Zoom call with all your different boxes, and there was maybe like 10 guys, and then Jody, but she would always make a point to make Kevin the hero.
Yes.
Like one guy would talk about his porn addiction or whatever, and she would be like, well, you need to be more like Kevin, who did blah, blah, whatever.
Yeah.
Who doesn't have balls?
She was
Oh, yeah.
She 100% was a fluffer in that moment.
Oh, yeah. Like, and even, you can even tell, like, I don't know. Like, seriously, the whole documentary, I just tried to figure him out. Like, because every time you see him, he's got nothing going on behind his eyes. Like he looks dead inside. And so I feel like at that point he was probably, I don't know, manipulated, beaten down enough that all of this, like building him up, this was the recreation part. This is where they were basically making him that subservient like dog.
Yeah.
Golly.
It's so frustrating. Oh my gosh,
But
she
then,
makes me mad.
so then with these online sessions, so Chad, the oldest son, was seeing Jody.
Yes.
Yeah, Jody.
What was it, like twice a week? He would have online sessions with her, and even she began to brainwash him
Yes.
into thinking that like
It was
she was
beneficial.
like this savior to him, and they started to notice a difference. So he goes from being the rebellious kid that he was to kind of submitting.
Well, and the reason that he did submit, so to speak, is because they had threatened to take him to the army school.
That's right.
And so then it scared him. He opened his eyes and it scared him. And he finally was like, okay, I submit.
Yeah.
So he just started doing exactly what his mom wanted. And then that's where Jody came into play. And
Well, Jody and her were both kind of like,
they're the ones
They
that
were
threatened military.
team.
yeah, that's right. Jody was already there.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then
they both
military
threatened it
camp
because he
and-
was super rebellious against
Yeah.
it. They threatened it. And he even says in the documentary, he's like, that terrified me. I
Yeah.
was so scared. So he started to submit. And he even talks about how, Chad has since, so after all this has been done, because in the show, it does show that he starts to be like, oh, this is helping. Like, this is great. He describes after the fact that these sessions were abusive in tone. Jody labeled him distorted, unrepentant, blamed him for the family's issues.
She gaslit him.
Oh, yeah.
With distorted truths. And,
According to leaked documents and public statements, Jody's methods involved isolation, intense guilt-based counseling, and spiritual manipulation, making obedience synonymous with repentance and worthiness. So Chad reportedly became increasingly rebellious and distanced after these sessions, ultimately leading him to move out when he was able,
So-
or after.
Yeah. Well,
all that
so
other
on
stuff.
the moving
kicked
out
out,
thing.
not moved out.
Yeah.
Well,
I think even after that, he was like,
now at what point did Jody move in?
Yeah, that's what I was going to
that
bring
comes
up.
that comes later.
That
Was that after he moved out? I thought it was before.
No.
It came
Oh wait,
before
no, yeah, it
because-
was before. Yeah. But we're jumping way ahead.
Yeah, we're
it was-
jumping ahead.
Yes,
It was
yes.
2 weeks before Sherry moved out to college.
So yeah,
Yes.
Sherry moved out to college, and she had to basically remove all the stuff from her room.
Well,
Wait. Let's back it up because there's a whole bunch that happens before that.
Yep.
So they're part of Connections, right? They're doing all this stuff. They're doing their dumb therapy sessions. Jody had a house down in St. George.
yes.
And this is when, so once they're all part of this Connections thing, that's when Ruby kind of changes the name of the channel
Yes.
to the, what was it called there? Something about light.
Warrior for moms, something moms.
Something weird. She took, seeing that 8 Passengers was done, it tanked, like they destroyed themselves. She rebranded and essentially made it a part of Connections where they could talk about, like, give advice to moms and being a warrior in these times. And somehow they started to believe themselves, because it was around 2020,
I was
with
just
everything
about to
going
say that.
crazy.
Yes.
They believed
Because with
themselves
the
to be,
pandemic and then the earthquake and all this stuff, they truly thought it was the end of days. And
and
that
that they were here to usher in like the second coming, essentially.
Yes.
Well,
This sounds very familiar.
Right? No, it does.
For real.
Ruby, yeah,
thinking
Ruby believed
Daybells?
that Jody was ushering in the second coming, and that she was actually going to, in the ways that she was talking, literally. At one point in the book, Sherry explains that Ruby exclaimed that she firmly believed that God was going to come down and Jody would be exalted and would be like, I told you this and thank you for spreading my word. Like literally that's what they believed.
Yes. And not to also, Kevin also believed the same thing.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Like
he
it
was-
wasn't just the two
Yeah.
of them. It was almost like the entire Franke family also believed it.
Yeah, and that they were part of this, and they were going to help her do it. Like that was their calling, kind of. Was they were there to protect her and help her.
The only good thing is Sherry getting out to college when she
Yes.
did.
Oh yeah,
Because that helped her kind of go away. She also got involved with Jody doing therapy sessions with her. Same thing. Jody made her. It was the same guilt trips. Everything that they would talk about, and she made her feel so guilty and all this stuff. Like she wasn't worthy to do anything as far as the church goes, or worthy in Christ's eyes. All this stuff. So it really manipulated and messed with her mind. And then there was one point where further down the road, she actually, the church gets involved, her bishop, and was like, hey, I want you to see someone else. And then this other therapist is like, you have been abused. And so she actually like starts seeing it. Her eyes get opened a little bit. And this is where I'm jumping way ahead. So we'll go back. But there's a point where the dad and brother had moved out. And she didn't know this, but her brother was living like a couple blocks away from her. And she went to the brother like and knocked on the door, and he's like, what are you doing here? And she's like, I want to talk. Like, let's talk. I miss you. And he's like, we have nothing to talk about. And she's like, no, let's talk. Like, I really, do you not understand that you're being abused? Mom is an abuser. Like, all this stuff, manipulative, all this stuff. And he was just like, I don't want to talk about it. He ends up like slamming the door on her and walking away. Damn, and she's in tears and all this stuff. And then next thing you know, she gets a phone call from Ruby. How dare you, you son of a bitch. Like, why would you go and tell this to your brother? So basically the brother went inside, called his mom and said, oh, guess who just showed up at the door? Sherry just showed up. And she's saying that you're an abuser and you're all this stuff. And so, yeah, Ruby called her up and like ripped her a new one and said, you think you were cut off before? Now you're cut off again. Like, how dare you do this stuff about me and everything.
Is that where Ruby then cut off her medical insurance, auto insurance?
That was a little bit later.
After.
But yeah, this was kind of in the middle of all that where Sherry was finally learning and being on her own and people getting an understanding that Ruby was not a good person.
Yeah, she got out of the echo chamber.
Yeah, so like around this, so back to where we were, around this time, it's like 2021 is when Ruby starts going down to St. George more often, like to be with Jody, to kind of co-host these connection meetings and stuff. And throughout that year, she starts going down there increasingly more, like leaving the kids at home with just Kevin or the older kids watching the younger kids. Like she's practically splitting her time between being in St. George and being at her actual house with her family. And another thing to note real quick that was wild to me, which makes sense during the documentary, is how Sherry and Chad never called them mom and dad.
Yeah, right.
Throughout the entire documentary.
Right. It's the same thing in Sherry's book.
Yeah.
When I think Chad did, didn't
he? He might have, but Sherry for sure did not.
She when she would recall like previous conversations, she would call them mom or dad. But then like when she's talking in current form and everything like that, it's always Ruby and Kevin. Yeah. Never.
And just that in the show like broke my heart. Like because there's abusive relationships. There's people that have to be pushed pretty far before they do that. Yeah. Like it's such a small thing, but it's also huge.
They are no longer mom and dad.
They've disconnected.
They are, and not only just by title, but like they're full on. Like, no, if I bump into you in public, you're just a person. Like you're
a person I hate with all my might, but you're a person.
Yes, you're no longer the person who gave birth to me.
Yeah, that is crazy.
So while this is all going on, they're getting more kind of extremist with their religious views and stuff. And this is when I think Jody starts to have her like fits.
Yes.
And there's this one time when they're all down in St. George. At least, they're all in St. George.
Didn't this happen in the Frankie's house?
Some of it did. Yes. Some of it did. So,
but this is what
starts.
Started.
They're down in St. George, like the whole family and stuff, right? And this, I remember, the dad. What was his name again? Kevin. Oh, you're forgettable. I remember Kevin.
So is Julie.
Right.
Stupid Julie.
He's the one talking about what happened, and like they're kind of talking about how they think she's being attacked by like evil spirits and things like that. And while they're there, she has a large house in St. George. While they're there, he said they heard this massive crash, like huge ruckus, like one floor below them. They rush downstairs and nothing's wrong. Nothing's fallen over. Nothing's broken. Everything is fine. And then they claim that some dark spirit was like at the back door and that they even found a handprint on the door where the fingers were like this long.
Right.
And the picture he shows is like, I guess I kind of see it.
It's a smudge.
It's a weird smudge.
Yeah.
But you could tell when he's talking, he full on believes like, and that's why I think he kept playing into this too. Is like, oh, this is real. This is the second coming. We're special. We have to help. Everyone wants to feel special. So they got stuck in this cult mindset of like, oh, we need to help her and protect her. So they decide, hey, you should come live with us. Let's leave this house where these attacks are happening. Come up with us.
They put her in Sherry's.
They drive home.
They put her in Sherry's
Sherry
room.
comes home from school, and they're like, hey, by the way, Jody's going to live in your room. You need to get your crap out of there.
You've got like 2 hours to hurry and get your stuff out. Yeah. She's going to be here soon.
And she didn't even get everything out either.
Yeah. And she
got the necessities.
And she was like, I'm leaving for college in 2 weeks. So she was like
Yeah, it's not that.
I'm
big
sure
of a
she was
deal.
super annoyed, but she was like, whatever. Like, it's not a huge deal.
Yeah.
And so Jody starts living at the house, and then that's when the like possession fits happen. Dude,
Well,
They
that
filmed
video,
those.
bro, was so dumb.
She's mine.
She's literally in the closet, like in the corner, and she's like,
well, she's at first she's spazzing out. She's like, like,
Yep.
And then when she's
and
calmed
they
down,
hold her
then she's
down,
doing-
and
yeah,
and then a voice that wasn't her.
yeah, she's speaking in other voices, and it's literally just her in a deeper voice.
Yeah.
Dude, but she was putting on this show that she was being possessed and all this crazy stuff, and they were eating it up,
Hey, that deserves an Academy Award.
bro.
Just saying.
Nowadays.
Did you see that? There were tears.
She was sweating.
Oh, that's what it was.
She was sweating. They were just in between. She's like,
Spritzing her.
but and this is where it gets super weird.
Yes.
So that's all going on, right? And at this point, she kind of turns on Kevin, and in the like man session things, she's like, now he's the lowest of the low.
Yeah.
Like, and she's starting to push like separation and all this crazy stuff. And every night she's having these possessions or these things going on to where Jody has to go up to the room and help comfort her and protect her, to the point of where Jody
Ruby.
goes.
You mean Ruby?
Ruby goes up to the room.
Goes up to the room where Jody is, and she, she's helping her, she's comforting her, whatever. But then she actually goes to her husband. She's like, hey, I think I need to sleep in the room with Jody to protect her.
Yes.
And he's like, yes, that's a great idea. I think you're right.
Well, even before that, so Sherry was talking about in her book, she was like, there was one time I was home from school, and she's like, every time I'd come home to visit from school, I was always sleeping on the couch. And she goes, there was one night where she's like, I just could not sleep. There was so much going on. I was frustrated, angry. There was a lot of
Commotion.
things. Well, she wanted to like go get some stuff out of her room and was not allowed to go get in her room at all. And so she's like, all of a sudden it was like 5:30 in the morning. She heard like kind of a commotion. She's like, what? And she kind of went to see what was going on. And she said it was her mom leaving Jody's room in a bathrobe, hair messed up, just blushed, red-faced and stuff. And she's like, it reminded me, because she was sneaking back out to go back into her room with her husband. And she's like, it reminded me of a teenage girl or boy sneaking out of a room that they shouldn't have been in, doing something that they shouldn't have been doing.
Yeah. There's that clip from Ruby where she's looking at this camera and, oh man, this pissed me off so much. But she's like, you need to get the demon out. You need to go in with surgical precision, like a razor blade, and cut it out. And so that's probably what they were doing. They were probably up there getting rid of the demons with a little bit of scissoring.
Yeah.
I
knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
Well, she did.
Good.
Well, because there's the one part, I think this is a little later, but Sherry goes into the room and she finds like massage oils
yes.
and
And
Candles and
And it
all that
smelled
creepy-
weird.
Well, and the yeah,
like tuna.
and the doctor, or not the documentarist, the director, whoever the guy was interviewing, he's like, do you think they were lovers? And she's like, I have my opinions.
Well,
And he's like, what are your opinions?
so it's funny you mentioned that, because
Exercising the demon.
that kind of I didn't really bug me, but I wondered, because she goes, yeah, I absolutely think they were doing something. And I wanted to know, like, how do you know that they were doing
Where's the
something?
video?
Yeah, exactly. I want to see the video.
No, you
God.
don't.
I don't.
She was haunting.
But I was like, wow, I like, how do you know? Like, what happened that you 100%? Because she, like, no doubt in her mind, she's like, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I want to know. And so
I mean, what else are you going to be
Well-
doing at 2 a.m.?
Sleeping.
going through this book that she
Praying.
well, it's funny going through this book that she had. She talks about that one time where, Ruby comes out of the room like that. And then she, after the arrest and everything happened, she asked the police officers, hey, can I go back into the house and grab some stuff? And they were like, oh, absolutely. Like, this is your house, so go in there, grab whatever you need. And she actually went into her room and it was either her room or her parents' room. I can't remember, but she found like text messages or a journal of some form. And it literally went into detail about Ruby exclaiming to Jody about how, we're here to fix this stuff. And like, I can't keep doing this physical stuff with you. And like, it basically went into detail. And she was like, my mom was lesbian.
Oh, gosh.
Here's the thing.
Literally was 100%.
But earlier in the series, Kevin even says that Ruby and Jody's relationship was borderline awkward. Like
like the video of them on the jet ski and stuff like that. Like,
Well, I mean, we said it before the podcast. Dude's a cuck.
yeah.
He likes to watch.
Well, here's the thing. Like, do you think
He was forced
to some point that she was just manipulated by Jody?
Ruby?
Yeah. Kind of like, do you remember Tiger King?
Yes.
Remember how he had like 2 boyfriends or whatever? And at one point, one of them was like, I'm not gay. I just wanted the drugs. You know what I mean? And and how he tried to convince him. He's like, oh, you watch porn? Do you like it when they have a big one or a small one? He's like, well, a big one, I guess. He's like, you're gay. Like, and he's like, oh, yeah, I guess you're right. That's a good point.
That 100% happens.
No, I do believe that, Ruby always grew up. I mean, the way you look at her, she always had some sort of fractured mind.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And Jody saw that.
And exploited it.
And went off. And I mean, this is in no way to give Ruby any like sanctuary whatsoever, any out. But there was some sort of fractured ego mind. Jody saw it, jumped on it.
Took advantage of it.
Bam. And just went.
I'm sure she
literally jumped on it.
She jumped all over it.
And bam. But it's sad because there are therapists out there who do that. I've got a friend, so to speak. I won't mention any names or whatever. This is just recent news to me. It was family friend growing up, and one of the oldest. They started that whole self-help. Found a person to talk to, a therapist, and all this stuff. This therapist got her and her husband to believe that their kids were bad for them, and they needed to get rid of the bad in their life. And
Evil.
So she dropped her kids. Dropped her parents.
How do you
dropped
drop
her
your kids?
Siblings.
Were they all older?
Ish. One, I think at the time was like 14 or 15.
Oh my God.
Literally said, you're cut out of our lives. We want nothing to do with you. Leave.
Holy
And
crap.
so her and her husband now live on their own elsewhere with this therapist, self-help person, as their best friend. And they have not talked to their kids in years. They haven't talked to their parents in years. They basically
Probably best for the kids.
They basically have said, when we want to talk, we'll come and talk to you.
Okay, what the hell's going on in Utah, bro?
There's a
Dude, what the
special
hell
place-
is going on
Special
here?
place in hell for people like that.
And it literally is. I believe that there was some sort of fracture there that happened within the family, and this therapist saw it, exploited it, jumped.
Yeah,
Well, therapists are trained to, they know the mind, they know body language, they know signs to look for, and if they use that training for all the wrong purposes.
Yeah.
And it's a power dynamic. Like once they get you to be open and vulnerable, it kind of puts them in a position of power over you. And
Right.
Well,
and
and
if they want to exploit it, they can.
It's even what that therapist at the very first of the documentary. He was kind of threw out or whatever, but he worked for Jody. And he said within the first year of working with her, he goes, number one, I didn't get paid for a single thing, even though I was told I was going to. And he goes, number two, I realized that she was a very, very bad person. And he goes, but at the same time, there were people that we were dealing with. And he goes, I needed to stay and protect them a little bit. Because I didn't want to leave because I didn't want her to push them. I had to be that protector, so to speak. Yeah.
So at this point, sorry.
I was just going to say, kind of jumping back a little bit. So after Jody's demonic episodes, whatever, it was around that time that Chad, the oldest son, opened up and said that he made out with a girl and that he looked at pornography.
Yes.
And Jody jumped on that and said, "You're the reason."
No. She said you need to go tell your mom.
Tell your mom.
Oh,
Like confess it to your mother.
and then it was. Oh, and,
And
then
so-
Ruby, she
as part of
broke
his-
down. She cried.
Yep.
As part of his repentance process.
Yes. And she broke down, she cried, and then all of a sudden she like pulled it together, went stone faced, and that's when she said, "You need to leave." And
Well,
basically,
No, she's like, you're the reason.
you're
that
the
all this
reason.
stuff is
well,
happening
that's
to
what I was going
Jody.
to say. You need to leave because you're the reason all of this. You're bringing this evil into the house, basically.
And that's the catalyst that she used to basically kick him and Kevin out.
Yeah, Kevin was
'Cause they-
the source of evil too. in that.
Yeah.
They never went into details what Kevin did, but basically,
I think it's just their lesbian love.
Yeah.
They wanted to get him out.
well,
She just
according
wanted
to
him out of the way.
Yeah.
yeah,
according to the little man therapy thing she was doing, she kept calling Kevin selfish. That you need to stop doing these selfish things. But
Yeah.
it never went
And talking
into
about why separation is a good thing
Yeah.
for a marriage.
They were saying how every marriage needs a separation of 1 to 5 years or something. like that.
Insane. But honestly, though, thinking about this, that has to be about the time that Jody and Ruby were starting to do their naughty stuff.
yeah.
And that's literally Jody going, "Okay, I've got Ruby. Now I need to get him out of the way so I can have her fully."
yep.
Because the timeline just matches up. Like they don't talk again. They don't go into it much because I think Sherry's the only one who saw it.
Yeah.
That's why when I was watching this,
again,
when I was watching the documentary, I'm not taking any fault or like any of the weight off of Ruby by any means, but I feel like Jody was more of the bad guy in this.
Oh,
case.
100%.
Yeah.
She took whatever Ruby was doing wrong. She just took it and threw gasoline on it.
Yes. Yeah. Like Ruby was there. She was all because all the crap she was doing in her YouTube channel happened way before Jody.
Right.
And so, yeah, Jody was just throwing fuel on that fire.
Well, it's
She
kind of
was-
like
she was
that.
fuel for the fire. Yeah.
It's kind of like that idea where it's like one horse can pull, I can't remember how much weight, but all of a sudden you get 2 horses and they can pull like 10 times the amount.
Yeah.
And it's almost like that same concept. It's like you have one crazy and they can do a little bit, and then you have another one that's okay, and then you get them combined and it's like, okay, now we can do 100 times.
Yeah.
the
A lot of
amount
crazy.
Get them
damage.
combined.
Yeah.
You have one
Oh,
horse.
now it's multiplication.
You have one whore, and you get 2 whores. Horses.
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 Oh, yeah, that's what it is.
Horses.
But seriously, the fact that
The horsepower.
That's going to be our hashtag at the end, just so you know, horses.
hashtag horses,
The horsepower.
just horses with a W, right?
Horsepower.
How much horsepower do you got?
They got 2.
If it depends on weight, they got a lot. But the fact that they,
Hellcat.
gosh, again, just watching Kevin made me so angry as a father
Oh, dude.
and a
don't
husband.
Get
like
started.
it's
Wake
like,
up.
Especially,
dude,
it was
let-
around this time the most that I agree. Like when he was getting kicked out, Chad was
And he's
getting
just
kicked
going
out.
through it with it.
And he's just,
Well, the fact that they kicked him out, but said you have to leave for at least a year.
Yes.
Or well, longer. No,
No, it was a year.
I don't think they said a year.
Yes.
It just happened to be a year.
In her book,
Did they say a year?
Details a year. Yeah, she
Okay,
said
so-
at the very least you need to be gone for 1 year.
And then she proceeds to tell him that he cannot have any communication with any of his family, any of his kids.
At first, actually, he was allowed to have communication with Sherry.
But see, that's
And
when
then-
Sherry like messaged him when he was getting kicked out. She's like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "I'm not allowed to talk to you. This will be the last time you hear from me."
Well,
and then he
that's-
just cut her off.
Yeah, that's what because he had that conversation with her, and she was allowed to have conversations with him, and then like within a week or two, that's when Sherry was kind of working her way out and seeing everything, and immediately Ruby changed it and went, "You're not allowed to have contact with Sherry."
Well,
at all
because
either."
at this point is when it's after they get kicked out that Sherry goes to the neighbors, those like nice
she's-
older neighbors.
Yeah, she spent a
Well,
lot of
that's
time
right.
with that couple, and actually, she kind of starts calling him dad.
Yeah, dude, those people seemed way cooler.
Yeah,
yeah, now you're right. This was around the time that Sherry started to get her insurance cut off. Right?
Well,
so
because she went to the neighbors, and then they went over to Ruby's house with her, and her mom came out, and they started like yelling at each other. And she was basically saying, like, "You're damaging this family, Sherry. Like, you're the cause of a lot of these problems. You're done. Like, we don't want communicate." Like, cut her off and said, basically, "You never want to see you again," kind of thing.
Yeah, and this neighbor said watching that, She was like, she was shaking. She was crying. She's like literally on her knees begging. And Ruby's just stone cold, not a look on her face. Just,
Well,
she
and
was just done.
what started also the whole thing of Sherry getting cut off. So she had a inkling, a feeling, because she had all this money that she had saved up from her YouTube channel and all this stuff that she had done throughout her life. And Ruby had access to that account. And she had this feeling that she needed to pull that money. And so she immediately did. And then that next day, she got a call from the insurance agent saying, you've been cut off. You no longer have car insurance. Health coverage has been gone. Dang. And so then she needed to, in order to, it was to do something with the car. She had to have proof of, or she wanted to loan out the car or whatever it was, but she needed to get the title. Mm-hmm. And so then that's led up to that whole thing where she needed to get the title. And so she called up the neighbor who was kind of more of a mom now than Ruby could have ever been. And she said, I need to go get the title from, my mom. Can you go with me? And then that's when she showed up there and like Ruby just went on her and just was like this. And, she said, you're ruining the family. You're done. You're cut off. We don't want anything to do with you. Leave us alone. And then that's when finally like this lady stepped in and she was like, hey, listen, great. I'm glad you said what you did. Give us the title. We need to leave. Like, and she grabbed Sherry and got her in the car. And then at that point, like Sherry just broke down bawling. And so
it's insane. Like I can't even imagine.
Oh man, it boggles my mind. And this isn't even the worst. This is just like the tip of the iceberg. So buckle up.
Yeah, now we're getting into, now Kevin, Chad, and
Sherry are all gone.
And you got
so there's four kids left.
Now you have the four middle, or I guess the four youngest.
Yeah, the four youngest.
Now what ages were they roughly?
The youngest I think was 8.
It's like 8,
was
12.
He 8 or because I think there were 3 girls and a boy.
Wasn't it 6, 8?
Because I'm trying to think of like at the end of it, because it's the youngest that ends
the youngest boy, not the youngest child.
I think he was like,
the girl was
the youngest
younger.
boy. Oh, that's right. I think the youngest was 8 when all was done.
Yeah.
And so I think he was around. They said he was around 10 to 12 when he escaped.
Yeah.
But
so to give a little bit of foreshadowing here, Sherry shares in the Hulu episode, and I'm sure way more in her book, before even Jody entered into the scene, there were many occurrences when Chad would get disciplined by Ruby to the point of blood would be from their altercations, right? He'd have a bloody nose,
bloody eye,
black eyes. She would pull out a belt and whip him on bare skin, to the point where Sherry would help her brother clean up his face, clean up the walls, stuff like that. Yeah. So that is the minimal of what's coming. So if that is too much for you, I highly recommend finding another video, but just know heavy stuff is on the way. So yes, after, Kevin left. He kind of cut off all communication with all of his family at this point. Leaving,
Pansy.
as we said, the 4 youngest children to just Ruby's parenting and Jody.
Yeah.
And I recall in the series that there were moments where Ruby's car would not be at their house for days on end.
Yeah.
And the kids, neighbors would be walking by and they would just see kids in the house, but no car. And their kids just looked lifeless. They would be looking out the window, just staring into nothingness. And people would be walking by and they said hours later, you could walk by again and that same kid would be staring in that window the same way.
Yeah.
Just, no parental guidance in the house.
That led to the first DCFS call.
Yes.
Which,
it was just the wellness check.
The wellness check.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Sherry,
the neighbor
called,
texts Sherry and said, hey, Ruby's car is not at the house. Their we've been seeing kids in the windows. We don't, have you been in touch with your mom?
Yeah. Which led to a DCFS call.
Bingo.
She goes into more detail about it in the book.
There was
a DCFS call in 2020 too.
Was there?
After the video?
Oh, yeah, that was
his
after
Oh,
the
video.
that's right. That was
so
the
there was
first one.
Yeah, there was one for
Yeah,
as
that was
well.
that, and then this one led into a wellness check plus.
Because the police showed up, I remember, and all the neighbors
Yeah.
too came out and were talking, and
Yeah.
they knocked on the door.
But-
Nobody answered. The kids wouldn't answer.
Police couldn't do anything
Well-
without probable cause.
And the sad thing is, and I feel for this neighbor, like the
Yes.
neighbor, I mean, being honest people, the cops like, are there signs of abuse? And they're like, well, not that
I
you've
haven't
actually
any.
seen.
Yeah.
But neglect.
Yeah.
And it sucks because I'm getting chills because they say in the documentary, they're like, I wish we would have
Yeah,
lied.
she's like, I
We
wish
should
I
have
would have lied and said yes, so they would have busted that door down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so as the cops come, check out the premises, they knock a few times, nothing happens. They send in a request to get a warrant. The judge denies it on unprobable cause. Is that
Just
the
not
word?
enough evidence.
Not
basically.
enough evidence to further the case. So they end up closing the case. Sherry gets a call from local dispatch basically saying, hey, there's nothing we can do.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, wasn't that the call that it was from DCFS that they were like, I truly feel for you. We just don't
Yeah.
have enough
Yes.
to.
Yeah, it
Exactly.
was the lady that she stayed in contact from the first phone call about stuff. Like she kind of stayed in contact with her all the time because she basically was trying to work up a case. Like they were trying to find something.
Yeah.
And she even came back. She's like, I truly feel sorry for you, but there are so many laws now in place that our hands are tied. Like we just can't do anything.
That's like
See, and I even think like, because you always try to think of what you would do in that situation, and metaphorically, we're always like, we're the man, metaphorically. But I would, in front of the cops, I would be like, I would go bust into the house and be like, hey, someone broke into this house, you better come get me, and just run through the house, like run around and be like, oh, look at these children, malnourished and abused, weird.
Yeah.
right.
Cuff me.
Yeah, like, oops, here we go.
Yeah. That's
That's
I'm storing that
right?
one. I'm
Right?
keeping that one up here for later use. Possible.
I'll
I hope
be.
that's not something you have to do later.
That's the
Well, I
thing.
mean-
That's the thing. We got each other. If we have to do it, we'll pay each other's bill.
There we go.
That's what's so sad about the child protective stuff is it is such a fine line. Like they do mean well and they do everything they can, but they are just so held back by so many laws in place.
Dude, they're no joke. I didn't even know what I did.
Yeah.
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
dude.
They
Not to
told
laugh
me
at
I was
that,
on a
but yeah.
list.
But that's
Yeah.
the thing. Is they only go after good people.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like that kid in West Haven. This was a couple years back, but where the lunch ladies spotted this kid all malnourished. He was digging through trash cans, all this stuff. So the lunch ladies started feeding him. They got in trouble by the school district because they're not supposed to feed them out of their own pocket, kind of thing. And
Don't feed the strays.
yeah,
For real.
and basically,
Don't bring more.
long story short, the kid dies, and because the mom took
that
him
went
out of the
dark.
school because of the way the school was treating him, and it was none of their business, and blah blah blah. And yeah, sure enough, he was being beaten and malnourished at home.
yeah, I
and,
forgot about that story. That was
Yeah.
ugly too.
but it was like they did, and between the school district stepping in and DCFS stepping in, it's like they just couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Can we become the next Avengers? Like,
For real.
Vigilantes.
Dude, I've
just
always,
become
I've
vigilantes,
always
you know?
wanted to.
welcome to Five's a Crowd.
Bro, we were watching the
Throwing
Purge.
haymakers.
We were watching the Purge
been
last
judged.
night.
Love that show.
And I was sitting there thinking, I was like, I wouldn't purge, but I think being a vigilante who goes out to just take out purgers would be fun.
Oh,
I'd purge the purgers.
Exactly.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, you're like, I don't have interest in killing anyone, but you're gonna try to do it, and I'm gonna end that.
Yep. Like Dexter.
Exactly. Exactly.
Thanks for being part of this crowd. Anyway,
Ciao.
Arrivederci.
that's our call signs.
Kill him with a giant like macaroni or something like that.
Feet to say.
Spaghetti knives.
What?
I'm Italian.
You're not Italian. Oh,
I know, but I'm arrivederci in them
Yeah, I
into the
get
next
you.
life.
I get you.
Oh gosh.
Let's see here. So, yes, as far as the documentary goes, maybe the book is different, but that's kind of where that ends for the next 10 months.
Because is it because of that? I don't know if the documentary like explained this, but I'm feeling like because of that is when she moved everyone down to St. George.
Now, here's my question too, before we pressed, is because Ruby's car wasn't there for days on end, assuming she was in St. George.
Yeah. That's what it was alluding to, is that
Okay.
she was down in St. George.
Leaving the kids behind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, for record, is 4 hours away from where she lived.
Springville to St. George is 4 hours.
Yeah. So in between that time now, you've gone 10 months, and now you cut to the video of the infamous doorbell.
Yes.
Where the kid shows up, rings the doorbell, the old guy out there, and then just the
so-
heartache.
It's so heart-wrenching
Yeah.
because he rings
He's so
the doorbell.
nice.
He's so kind, and he's like, he's like, I've got 2 favors to ask. Well, really just one.
Yeah.
Well, no, he goes,
What do you need, son?
yeah, he's like, what do you need? Because he takes a while for them to answer the door. So the kid starts to walk away. And then he comes out and he's like, yeah? And he turns and he's like, yeah. He's like, I was wondering if you could do 2 favors for me. And he's like, well, what are they? And he's like, well, the first is, could you take me to the local police station? And then I guess just the one. And the guy goes, well, have a seat, son. What's going on? And he's like, well, it's personal business. And he goes, okay, have a seat. And
that's when he calls the
and
police.
that's when he calls the police.
And then he starts tearing up.
chills.
And he's just
Same,
like,
dude. Oh, I hate it.
basically telling, the patrol
he had-
he's malnourished. And,
Well, he had duct tape and saran wrap around his ankles and wrists.
yeah.
They could tell
He's
he was
emaciated.
malnourished. Yeah. And
The fact that they use the word emaciated, like,
That's hard.
that's wild. Because they talked, and I can't really wrap my brain around this visual, but they talked about how he was so skinny that you could see his Achilles tendon from the front.
Yeah.
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 that's Austin's worst nightmare.
Yeah. It is my worst.
He's like, it's not only in the back, it's in the front now. I got
don't know
4
what to do.
ways to get hurt.
Well, in one of the shots too, like I saw, because I was trying to, like in the shots, they of course don't focus on it too much, which is great. But like in one of the shots when he's like in the back of the ambulance, I was looking at his leg and it's like you could see his shin bone into the muscle, but yet it's just,
Yeah.
it's almost as if someone like vacuum sealed his insides so his skin was just like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, oh.
Well, and then at that point, because it kind of goes into it talks with Sherry. So during that time, that 10 months, so she's been in contact with DCFS. She's been trying to find something because she realized at one point, and I think it was because of what happened with the chick up in Idaho.
The Daybells?
Yeah, the Daybells.
Eerily similar.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what
She,
we were
at
saying.
one point, Sherry realized that if they don't do something, she's going to lose her siblings. The siblings are going to die. She knows something's going on. And so it's actually weird how she, by the grace of God, like she details about how she had literally just sat down and said a prayer and was like, God, I don't know what to do anymore. I need help. Like, please, like we need to figure out something that's going on. And then I don't know the time limit. I can't remember. I think she specifies. But then all of a sudden, like she gets a phone call and it's from a neighbor. And they're like, you need to get over to your parents' house. Police are there. They're about to break down the doors. And she's like, okay. And so she packs up and runs to the house. And then that's when you got the kid that they found down there. They went and got Jody to answer her door. And then she's
Dude,
like,
that's the best fucking video,
best.
dude.
she's like just stonewalled. And all of a sudden she's like, my
She's like,
my
I'm
lawyer.
on the phone with my lawyer.
My lawyer.
And the
and
freaking
he's
cop's like, that's great. And he
Yep.
just walks past
yeah.
her.
And he's like, I need you to step out of your house. No, my lawyer says I'm fine. I don't need to. And he goes, that's great. And grabs her
No.
and keeps on walking.
My favorite part is she's like, my favorite part is when, don't you need a warrant? You need a warrant to search my house. He's like, not in this case.
Yeah. I want to understand that.
Oh, because they had
Because the kid,
probable
the
cause.
kid was all the evidence they needed.
Yeah,
It's 100%.
He's like, hey, they held me captive. And they're like, sweet, we're going in.
Yeah. The fact
man,
that
I
this
will cause
kid's
that point.
bound up, you know, in his
Malnourished.
condition, saying, yeah, it was that house. Okay.
And
That's a warrant.
His-
I love that police footage, the whole thing.
That whole segment of them kicking in the door, going in to save the kids, that alone made me want to join the SWAT, man.
real,
I
Right.
so badly want to save people like that.
They're
Just
holding their M16s or whatever, walking
I'm-
through. And
I'm just saying, I don't understand what I mean. It would be so hard for me on SWAT to not have accidents around the bad people.
100%. At
Like
least
I
a trip.
slip and I'm like, oh no.
At least
He's
a trip.
done.
You know what I
Like,
mean?
Cam,
Like,
this is your third gunshot in a week.
Hey guys, I oiled it too much. I'm sorry. It's just a little fidgety.
it's a little
That's not how
slippery.
that works.
I think I've
A
mentioned
little
this-
fidgety right between the eyes. Well,
Hey,
I
my
think I've
gun's
mentioned
accurate.
this before with my dad. Like he's talked about there is a code with police officers,
Yeah.
and like that one
shouldn't
shooting
say
that
this.
was up here on the SWAT team that killed I can't remember, it was that Ogden police officer about
yeah.
5-6 years ago or whatever.
no, it was longer than that.
Was it longer than that?
Because my sister's ex-boyfriend's brother was on that team.
Okay. Yeah. So when that happened,
wanna
and,
meet him.
and there was like how they found the guy in the shed, and then basically he like found a white towel and started throwing it out. He's like, "I'll tell you what." He
Good.
goes, "Oh, that's exactly what he said." He goes, "You want to get into police code?" He goes, "Boston Police, NYPD." He goes, "You can even get into some of the, down wherever."
LAPD.
And he goes, "All it takes is immediately, because now you've shot one of their officers." And he goes, "That white flag comes out. Someone says, 'Gun,' bam, everybody shoots." And then when the officers, when they come up and say, "Hey, what happened?" "We thought it was a gun. We shot."
Or the white cloth just isn't to be found.
Yep.
Hard
It's
to.
just-
Might want to edit that out.
Hey, we're not cops. We don't know how it works.
no, it's the whole
Allegedly.
allegedly, but
Allegedly.
it's the idea of like if someone breaks
just
into
saying,
your
or
house,
I'm not
and
saying, but I'm just
you
saying.
shoot.
Yeah.
Someone breaks
Yeah.
in, you shoot
Yeah.
because how are they going to defend themselves?
Yeah.
Yeah.
in a court of law.
Yeah.
Right?
You empty a clip.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not saying.
That person,
Dude, if
they
somebody-
I'm
can't
just saying.
defend themselves if they're not breathing.
Yep.
Dude. So yeah, they are, until I hear a thud and I'm fired. I'm fired. If somebody's in my house, I shouldn't be in
Chris,
there.
you had 30 bullets in his chest
ever-
cavity.
Do you see that? Have
I'm
you seen that
thorough.
comedian? Have you seen that comedian when he talks about how
My
he wants
best
to
group ever.
he wants to defend his house with a bow and arrow?
Oh, what an idiot.
He's like, no, but the way he talks about
I
it, dude,
believe it
it's
'cause he's a
so
comedian.
funny. He's like, he's like, just imagine you come into my house, the lights turned red. You hear a voice and it's like, you chose the wrong house. And then he just comes out and funk. You just take an arrow to the chest and you're like, what the fuck? And he's, I've got more.
Unload the quiver.
All right, Legolas.
Oh my God.
But no, on that raid though, so when they're going through Jody's house,
And all this to find the sibling. Like the other
Yes.
so they
boy
find the,
said that there was still a kid
Yes.
in the house.
Oh, and that was the heartbreaking part too. Was
Yeah.
the kid said they asked, do you have any siblings in the house or whatever? And he goes, I have a sister.
A
He's
little
like,
sister.
When was the last time you saw her? He's like, I haven't seen her
In months.
in months.
Yeah.
And
said they could hear her.
I
He
could hear her,
him,
but I haven't seen her in months.
And they find her in a closet, like a walk-in closet upstairs. She won't talk. And
Yeah,
the
she
one
was
officer,
tied up.
The one officer, he's like, he just stayed with her while the rest went and cleared the rest of the house.
And here's what pisses me off about that too is they find that safe downstairs, which is where the boy was inside. And they walk out to Jody and they're like, "You have a safe downstairs."
What's
Wait,
the
the boy wasn't in that?
He wasn't.
How'd he get out? Because it was locked.
No, they said, "Hey," and so Jody's like, "Well, I don't know the code in there."
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, you do." And she's like, well, "What's behind there?" And she goes, "I don't know, a bathroom,
Yeah, there's a toilet.
a toilet or whatever."
You have a giant safe
that's
door
what
on
I've
a
heard. And
bathroom
so
and you don't know the code.
Then at that point, the chief comes in and they were just messing around. And he's like, "You know what? I'm just going to try it." And he goes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Bro,
Unlocks
it's
it.
insane.
And then that's where they walk
The
in.
factory
and
code.
Maybe the boy wasn't in there at the time, but that's where he was being kept.
That's
That's
yeah.
better.
I think
Yeah.
they
that's where
found
he
it.
was tortured.
Yeah.
yeah, because then they found that
They found
honey
the
with the
Well,
cayenne pepper
well,
paste.
first off, they found in the bottom drawer they found handcuffs and rope.
Yeah.
And then in the garbage can they found used bandage that had blood on it.
Yes.
gauze and stuff.
Gauze and saran wrap. And then they found that cayenne pepper and honey combination mixture,
Like a bowl.
in a bowl.
Yeah.
That they,
that they would
They would
put
put on
on
his
in the
wounds.
cut, yeah.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
would, in essence, they would open a wound,
They'd bleed him.
cover it with that cayenne pepper honey mix, and then I would imagine
Tried to-
bandage it
And
With
to
saran wrap.
burn out the
Yes.
demon.
yeah. So
The
because
evil and the sin.
they saved the girl, but then is it also in the safe where they find the journals?
No, that's back at the Springville home.
Oh,
And
okay,
that's,
yeah.
That's way later. That's way
That's
later.
right.
So isn't it the other two kids are so now
They were just dropped off.
They
at
were
somebody's house.
they were at neighbors'
that's right.
houses. Yeah.
Because then, so after they raid Jody's house, then they go to Ruby's house in Springville. Nothing. They don't find anybody there, but then they find the other two kids at a neighbor's house, and they're fine, other than mental, but like physically, they're okay. So it was just the two little ones.
Yeah, and it's also to note
wait. Sorry, backing up.
The girl, when she was found, also had a shaved head. Was malnourished
Yes.
and had a shaved
Yes.
head. They actually thought it was a little boy.
Yeah.
So backing up, when Jody's house got hit, that's when Ruby called Kevin.
Yeah.
Yes.
He hasn't spoken to her in over a year.
Dude, and the way he talked about receiving that call, gosh, I wanted to curb stomp him.
right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, my angel, my wife is finally
Yeah.
reaching out to me after a year. I'm
Gave
like,
him the
dude,
biggest hard on in the world.
Even
and-
in the freaking interview, this is after everything that's gone on, and the way he talks about her still, it's like he's got her on that effing pedestal.
Dude, he is the ultimate pussy whipped person I've ever seen
do
in my
you
life.
still love her? Yes. You can't take away all the good
Absolutely.
times. Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
She deleted them all.
I'm pretty sure I'd stop loving Jenny. Like
That's done.
I'd kill you.
it's like Daniel Tosh's joke about like there's no gray area for domestic abuse. Like, well, what if I walk in from work? She's drowned 2 of our kids. She's on to the 3rd one. I'm thinking there's a gray area.
I'm thinking there's a fine line, and I know where it is.
Well, and it's the same thing. Like if I was presented that question in the same situation, I'd look at him and say, at one point, yes, I was in love with her. Now, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Heck no.
Like,
Well, and so yeah, after a year of no communication with
She
the
finally
kids,
calls
with,
him.
with the wife, of course, he at this point has no clue what's going on.
No idea.
Right. So
But it's the premise that he was kicked out of the house.
It's the premise that you're the freaking father,
Yeah.
dude. Nobody should
Well-
be able to stop you from knowing what's happening to your children.
And let alone not conversing with your own children.
and at one
Dude,
point too,
like hell.
even the neighbor. So one neighbor sent him a text message and it didn't go through. Another neighbor sent him a text message and said, "Hey, Kevin, police are at your house.
yeah.
Be a man and do something." No response.
Yeah,
Well,
and
didn't,
blocked. He blocked him.
Yeah.
Even Sherry at one point tried to message him. I think this might have been a little earlier. She mentions in the documentary she tries to message him. Her message gets hearted, and then the heart then
Disappears.
gets taken away, and then he
then he
messages.
didn't he block her
Or
then
he
too?
blocked
Like
her.
actually block
Well,
her?
and she even describes too. So he was a professor at BYU. She was going to BYU. There was one point where she walked past him in the hall, and he literally looked at her and looked the other way and looked down and walked right past her.
Get out! I didn't know this.
Gosh.
Yeah, this was after.
Oh, what a
this,
freaking
yeah,
cool.
yeah, this was after
I
everything.
want
like,
Chad to take his dad out behind the woodshed.
yeah, like she saw something, or there was some sign that said,
Yeah.
Professor, whatever the hell his name is, Kevin Franke or whatever. And
Yeah.
she's like, oh, and then, yeah, she's like, she saw him in the hall. And literally it was one of those things where they saw each other, made eye contact, and he just, I don't know who you are, and walked right past.
Dude, I would.
And it was all because of Jody and
Ruby.
Ruby. Thank you. I was going to call her Julie.
And he's a pussy.
And it was all, well, yeah, but
that's the nicest way to put it.
It was all because of that, and
What a freaking idiot. dude.
I get it
can't
to
do
a
this
point,
crap. I'm so pissed.
but it's not to give him a. Well, it's not to give him a pass or anything, but he was brainwashed,
Yeah.
and he believed that this was firmly going to get his wife back. He had to do everything that she said.
So back on the phone call and on the brainwashing thing. So Ruby calls him up and says that their 2 youngest were possessed by demons.
Yes.
And that was the reason for the torture, is they were basically trying to torture the demons out of them.
She wasn't even talking about the torture. She just said, "Hey, the 2 children are possessed by demons. They're in police custody. I don't know what they're gonna say to make us look bad
You need
and
to
to
go
ruin
get
our
them.
family. You need to go get them.
I don't
before
know
they
what
say
kind of
anything."
lies they're already
from
telling.
Literally.
And from the journals, it says that they were purging entitlement out of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
They were distorted. They use that a lot.
Yeah.
And the part that makes me so mad too is how he reacts when he says, "Yeah, and I look down and the love of my life is calling me." You know, Ruby with a heart emoji next to it. He's like, "Finally, after over a year of not talking, the love of my life is calling me on the phone."
But he was waiting that year period that Jody told him they had to wait.
Yeah, and he didn't even like. He literally would go to work and then go back to his apartment and do nothing.
Yeah.
Like just wait for the phone call.
And she basically just said, "I need you to get down to the what I can't remember the
I don't know,
city.
police department.
Police department
Springville.
as soon as possible."
Ivans.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And when he gets there, the police are like, "You know what's going on, right?" And he's like, "No." And they're like, these kids were tied up in Jody's basement, all this." And he's like, "No, they weren't."
Yeah, well, he just walks in and goes to the reception and goes, "I'm here to pick up my kids." Like he just doesn't even.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like he won't believe the police officers
They pull him aside for interrogation.
Uh-huh.
They set him down. They're sitting there questioning him. They got the camera rolling. And so the first question is like, he alludes to, "I haven't seen my kids or my wife in over a year." Mm-hmm. And then they're like, "Okay."
They're all like, "What? That's insane. Who in their right mind would ever let that happen?"
How much time you got,
Like
fella?
even the worst, not worst, but like even awful divorces where the husband, cheated on the wife or whatever, blah blah blah.
That's the
even
first
he
time-
still gets to see his kids occasionally.
That was the
Like,
first time that guy was forced to go get milk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. And did it willingly.
Yeah.
And yes.
Well,
I'll
they
do it for
willingly
you.
do it, but he was forced to go get the milk.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so at this
And he didn't even
point,
bring it back.
Kevin is,
Yeah.
the cops are telling him the details of the children. And how did he put it in the show? He basically just felt like they were feeding him lies.
Yes, like they were part
wanted-
of this thing to stop their
Like they
second
offered
coming,
to
all
show
that
him
stuff.
pictures and he refused because he just knew
So
it was
wait.
all
Fake.
part of the lies.
He'd
The
been
pictures would be fake.
he'd been fed lies the whole time to get him to that point, and now they're the ones lying to him.
yes,
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's like
and then,
the epitome of brainwash.
So
right
then he ends up going to the house, like his house.
Yeah.
For the first time. And once he gets in there, he sees that the house is just a
Well,
giant
hang on.
mess.
Backing up just a tad, he calls up Chad.
Yes. For
The
the first
neighbor.
time.
No, his
the
son. That's right. That's right.
For the first time in over a year as well. And
Basically, he's
oh
like,
wait, no,
"I'm gonna be-"
backing up even farther. So Chad was he was a lifeguard,
Right. Oh, yes. Yeah. This is
and
good.
his boss comes out and says, "I just heard. I'm so sorry. If you need anything, let me know." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "It's all over the news." And so on his break, he pulls up his phone and sees it on all the news feeds, what's going on. And he was the same as Kevin, thinking, this can't be real. This is fake. This isn't happening. Mm-hmm. And so then, yes. So now Kevin calls up Chad. So dad calls son, says, "Hey, I'm going to go to the house. You're welcome to meet me there." And then he said that as he was pulling up, he sees this guy sitting on the front lawn, Chad, as he pulls up. And it's his dad. Unrecognizable. And it's his dad, just skinny as can be. You just know he was just.
And a neighbor came over. Or did he text the neighbor?
I think he was just talking to a neighbor and they conversed for like 6 hours.
Oh, wait. So he goes in the house. He sees that the house is in disarray. Like everything's pulled out of the drawers, cupboards, all over the place. And he's like, "What's going on? Like, this is weird."
Well, and
the neighbor comes over and he sits down.
The SWAT going in,
No.
and turning stuff over.
No, because remember, the neighbor shows up. I can't remember how the neighbor gets there, but the neighbor shows up and they end up sitting down and talking for like 6 hours. Because at the beginning, the neighbor's like, he's like, "I can't believe this house is such a mess." And the neighbor's like, "Well, they were getting ready to move.
Yeah.
Like they were going to
St. George.
leave. They were moving." And he's like, "What?" And that I think is what finally shattered the glass. And he realized that he was out. He was pushed out. This was like,
He didn't
kicked out of his
realize
family.
this.
They were ditching him. He didn't know that they would move.
He didn't
And
realize
so-
that they had been basically living down in St. George this whole time and slowly making their way down there.
And so the neighbor talked to him for like 6 hours and basically laid out everything. And he finally was like, "Oh, this is bad."
want me to piss you off even more, though.
Yeah.
So during that time, so now Ruby's been interrogated or whatever, and she's been arrested. And there was one point where the oldest daughter,
that was
Sherry.
Yeah. So there's one point where Sherry gets to go back to the house, and this is when, how I mentioned earlier, how she found stuff like she went and grabbed phones, tablets, what are they called? Not visas, but passports. She went and grabbed that and stuff like that. And she grabbed stuff out of the house, and the whole time the police were there watching what she was grabbing, Kevin finds out about it, and he goes to the police officer and says, "I want her arrested for burglary."
Are you kidding me?
And the police officers are like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, she went in there and took stuff that she's not supposed to have. I want her arrested. She's a thief." And the officers were like, "Well, actually, this house is just as much hers as it is yours. She has as much claim to the product inside of it as you do." No
Property.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And so she ends up giving some of it back to him and was like, "Here,
Holy
take
cow.
it." But yeah, the dad wanted her arrested.
So,
Stupid cuck.
my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Hashtag cut.
So mad.
Hashtag.
Just don't do that one. Don't do that one.
The yeah, that'll demote our video big time. What was I going to say after that? So so he goes in, cabinets emptied, drawers emptied, the house is just in shambles, just a ghost town really. And as you mentioned, the neighbor came over, they spoke. God, what was it that happened after that? I'm trying to remember. There was something.
I want to say, so then Kevin and Chad had their own conversation, and Kevin told Chad basically, he's like, "This is, we've been brainwashed. Your siblings aren't possessed by demons and all this stuff." And it was kind of the realization for the both of them that, the past several years of their life has been a big lie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm trying to remember, because then I want to say it kind of just jumps into.
Where did she get arrested? Was it in St. George?
Oh, that's what I was going to say.
Oh, yeah.
So there was that weird moment where they were looking for Ruby.
Yeah.
And she just happened to pull up
Yeah.
to
She,
the house.
Flew up to Jody's house.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is like, "Okay, well, now that you're here."
Sweet. Put on these pretty bracelets.
Yes. And
We're going
can
to
I
take you on a
just
ride.
say, so from seeing how fake she was in her videos when they first started, and
Yeah.
the mom that she was, to the point where they arrested her and put her in the interrogation room, dude, there was nobody behind those eyes.
It was terrifying.
She was
Like-
the one possessed.
Yeah, there was like just blank faced staring.
That
asked her
interrogation
questions.
video when they very first are trying to talk to her, and she's just slowly blinking, looking
Yep.
at the one and then the other.
Yep, it's
And
almost
she's
like
just
she
like-
just black eyes.
You're
and just,
psycho.
Yeah, there was no one behind those eyes.
Yeah.
Like absolutely no one there.
And then she eventually just alludes to, "I'm not going to talk until I have my lawyer,"
Yes.
or something
Well,
like that.
when-
Probably in shock too, though.
kind of backing up a
got
little
caught.
bit.
I don't know, dude. She seemed pretty pompous, even in that jumpsuit.
Backing up just
She
a
thought there
tad.
was a camera.
Yeah,
That's
true.
She was at home.
Dude.
Backing up just a tad. I know we mentioned them, but when did they find the journals?
so we're getting there.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. So, so, I mean, that's pretty much the next thing. So, as the cops, I don't remember what led up to it, but eventually the cops got the A-OK for a second warrant to go search the premises at the Franke house.
yes.
Wasn't that when they also redid Jody's and they finally got into the safe?
No, they got into
they got in
safe
that
the
the same
day they
day.
raided
Oh,
it
okay.
for the little girl.
And so as they're looking through the house, I think for evidence leading up to the trial for Ruby Franke, they came across the blue folder on the nightstand,
Yes.
which had all the journal entries
How dumb.
of all the stuff that they had been doing to the kids over the course of the last
In
few
detail.
years. In
Yeah.
severe detail.
Insane.
And it was gut-wrenching
Yes.
reading some of the stuff because the amount of torture that these kids went through was just unfathomable. And it like Jess was watching it with me, like we were watching the series, and eventually Jess got tired. She's like, I really want to see how this ends, but I need to go to bed. I'm so happy she went to bed.
Yeah.
Because then it eventually led into these documents, and it was like, I don't think she could have handled it.
There was at one point, like I was reading up on them, and there was at one point where she claims, so they had the kids outside in the sun, sweltering heat.
Yep.
And the kids would try to come back into
The shade.
And she'd push them back out, and they come back in. So she ended up getting a cactus.
Oh yeah, she would poke him with a cactus.
She cactus.
one sec, I
What was
actually-
it called?
It wasn't just a cactus. It was a cactus.
Well, hold on. I've got the entry right here. It, golly, right here. It says, this one's on July 10th, 2023. I told the boy he emulates a snake. If he wants to emulate the Savior, he needs to be 100% obedient with exactness. The body must engage in good work, and the good works need to be painful, and the power of God must obey. And he must obey. I pushed him into the sun. He comes back. I come back with a cactus poker, and I poke his back to get into the sun. He doesn't even flinch.
Yep.
I told him, give your demon friend a message for me. I will not rest. I will not sleep. I will not leave. I will fight him until the day you die. And that one journal, oh man, it just
And
made my heart drop into a pit.
There was that, and then I think right around the same time too, there was an entry that said that she literally yelled at the kids and said, "You think it's hot out here? Wait till you get to hell."
Yeah.
And that was Ruby.
Yeah.
There was other.
This
there
was down in St. George.
Right.
Yeah. There was other scenarios where they had a trampoline and they'd put the trampoline outside and they would make them jump on this little
It
tiny.
was like a single person
Single-
trampoline.
for
And then
hours.
they found it inside, and they had literally dried up sweat marks.
Well, it's like the boy tried. That's what's so crazy.
Yeah.
It wasn't even her son in her eyes. It was this demon.
And
They had to run down the street down that
down
hell's
Hell's Hole Road.
Yeah.
They had to run up and down this road, like all kinds of just wild torture.
And it gets, I mean, I don't know. It didn't really specify the time of year, but down there it's so freaking hot.
Well, with that one entry, July 10th, 2023.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah,
got
so
all the
midsummer.
entries. You want to hear some of these?
If you've got them.
R turns 12 today. No celebration. He doesn't deserve it until he repents. Made him stand in the sun for 4 hours to burn out his pride. E watched, crying, so she stood out for 2 hours too.
Get out. You know, it's something we totally forgot to mention far earlier on, and this is leading up to all this, obviously.
Christmas?
Christmas.
Dude, that shattered
we totally
my
forgot to share
heart.
this story. So back before, I think this was even before Jody.
No, Jody was already
This
there.
was during Jody.
Yep, this was one of the last times that Sherry was around.
Yeah. So it was one of their last Christmases as a family, and the Chad, I want to say, mentions that it was this Christmas that the youngest kids wouldn't be getting anything for Christmas.
Yep.
That was part of their punishment. And one of their friends had actually saw some toy or something in one of the local stores that they knew that they would love. So they got them this as a present and brought it over as a neighbor gift and said, "Hey, can you give this to so-and-so on Christmas from me?" And they're like, "Nah."
Well, no,
Like
she
took it.
Ruby
She-
took it.
Yeah, she took
And
it.
then she made the kid go take it back to him.
No,
Yeah.
she
Didn't
threw it
she?
away.
I swear she made the
At
kid
least
go.
in the documentary.
I thought
Ruby
I-
took
anyway,
it because
yeah, maybe I'm hearing
the
differently.
friend didn't even answer the door. Ruby just took the toy and then shut the door. And then it was like the next day at school, the friend was like, "So what did you think of it?" She's like, "Oh, I didn't get to see it. My mom made me throw it away."
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what. Yeah, okay, that's what it was.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Like that's just at the beginning stages.
Yep.
Well, even just the fact that she had to give it to the kid to make the kid throw it away.
Yeah.
It's not like I'll take it, throw it away, kid will never know about it. It's, oh, great. I get a chance to jab my kid and be like, hey, look what you got. Go throw in the garbage.
And it all instilled from them not listening or paying attention and being
Just entitled little brats,
Yeah,
basically.
entitled little brats. And so, yeah, in front of them, they made all the other kids open up their presents in front of these.
And I
two
remember
kids.
Chad saying it was so awkward.
Yes.
And like,
But yet the dipshit let it happen. Like,
So
that's
you want the first entry. This is what it says.
this
okay?
is the first entry.
The first entry. Today I begin to work on cleansing Russell, and Eve. They are filled with defiance. So she puts R and E, but it signifies it's for Russell and Eve.
She freaking takes her children's
They are
name away.
filled with defiance and must learn humility. No dinner tonight. Hunger will teach them to rely on God, not their selfish wants. Holy crap. E cried for food today. I told her Satan wants her to be weak, but God wants her to be strong. She slept outside on the patio to feel the consequences.
Holy shit.
R refused to pray, so no breakfast tomorrow. June 1st. R tried to sneak water from the kitchen. Caught him and bound his hands with tape so he understands boundaries. He screamed, but it's the devil fighting to stay in him. 2 days now. No food.
Oh my gosh.
No.
Dude, my kids can't go 2 hours without food.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so
Oh. E wouldn't stop asking for a blanket. Jody said it's a crutch for weakness. Took it away and locked her in the closet for the night. She needs to face her fears alone.
oh my god.
And how old are these kids? 8?
8 and 12, 8 and 10, somewhere in there.
Dude.
What year was it? That was in 2023, right?
Yeah, so that's
So
I
that's the
have-
year that it happened.
July.
I have no relation with these kids, and I would love,
I want to hug them so bad.
I would love to be put in a room with Ruby and Jody.
Mm-hmm.
Just
So,
to,
yeah,
just to give them a hug.
So it all started May
Yeah.
May 22nd of 2023. Independence Day. R and E are slaves to their sins. No food today. Let them feel empty while the nation celebrates freedom. R tried to run to the pool, taped his ankles to stop him. I can't read anymore. of these.
Dude, the thing that makes like
There's a
I don't
whole,
know.
This is all of them.
Dude, I wish they would seriously do these things to her.
Yeah.
All right, dude.
Dude, 1,000%.
I remember it because I
Could you
remember
imagine?
I remember in Outer Limits. You remember Outer Limits,
Yeah.
the TV show? Mm-hmm. So I remember an episode where this guy, he's like, he wakes up one morning. He's a pool man. He's at the pool. He's like making eyes at the lady. You know, the husband comes home, realizes they were probably doing something weird, and the husband like chases him down and like kills him. Right when he dies, he wakes up again the same day, cleaning the pool. And it starts all over. And, you know, same thing. He tries to escape a different way. Husband kills him. Tries to escape another way. Husband kills him. At the end of the episode, it turns out that he's in this like kind of virtual reality that's like super realistic, kind of Matrix-like. And he's flipped positions. He is actually the one who murdered the husband. And so his punishment is that the rest of his life in prison, he has to relive the victim, what the victim saw and what the victim felt. So he just relives over and over being murdered by the person he actually murdered.
That's amazing.
That'd be
Right?
fantastic.
And so like I think about that so often with these kinds of things, like just making them experience what they caused.
Well, there
Over
was
and over.
there was one point. So in the book, it details. So Ruby, when she, of course, everything comes out. She's in jail. She gets arrested, waiting for a trial. She actually sent her husband a letter, basically detailing in a shoddy kind of a way that she was sorry, but she was more scared at the fact that she knows what happens to people in jail who are child abusers. And she claims that she's like, I have to keep my head down. I have to walk around. I'm scared I'm going to get shivved in here and all that stuff. But no real remorse about anything else. Same thing. She wrote her oldest daughter a letter too, and it was 6 pages long. And she said like the first 2 or 3 pages were all about how she was trying to get the nursery ready for when she was pregnant with her. I remember that when I was pregnant with you, we had to do this and this, and I was just so excited for my first child and blah, blah, blah. Like just tries to relive that memory. And then goes on basically after that, and she flats out says too, she's like, there was no apology for what she did. It was more of a, I'm sorry that this happened, and I still would like to be your mom, and blah blah blah. But really, no accountability and no nothing else from that point on.
Well, gosh, and she also recounts the trial, right? So Jody and Ruby are put on put to trial. They both claim guilty to 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. And on the very last one that Ruby says she's guilty to, she goes on a tiny monologue about how she's so remorseful for the things that she's done and all this stuff. And Sherry's just like, what a crock of shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and she's
Heard
like,
these lies
and
before.
the guy asks her at the end, he's like, will you ever look to talk to your mom ever? She's like, hell no.
No.
Never again.
Nope.
I don't know her anymore.
And she even details that in her book too. She says, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like she can be as apologetic as she wants and sincere as she wants. I don't ever want to talk to
Yeah.
her ever again.
You know what really broke my heart too was that when her friend, the neighbor who was becoming Sherry's mother, so to say, when they went over to the house and everything, and Ruby blew up on her, she turned to her neighbor, the mom, and was like, "This is my mom."
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Pull
This-
up.
Showed that old
she
picture.
pulled up an old picture.
Yeah, she's
She
like,
said,
"This is
my mom.
This,
That's not my mom."
yeah, that was heartbreaking, man.
Yeah, and it's so and real quick too. I know we're probably getting towards the end of this and stuff, but there was one point. So you remember how I told you Sherry had that inkling that she needed to go in and pull that money from her account.
Yeah,
So what they did is they actually come to find out is Jody and Ruby were actually going in and liquidating all their assets, and they were basically selling everything off. They, her and Kevin had a joint account together, about $85,000 in there. She took it all out. She emptied all the kids' bank accounts out, all this stuff, her and Jody. And they were getting ready to move to St. George. But in their talks, because of everything that was going on in St. George and the kids trying to run away, they were actually looking at property in Arizona of more of a secluded island type thing, where then they could do fully with the kids, and the kids couldn't get away. And truly at that point, if they would have made it that far, those kids would have been dead.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
golly.
And all they got was 30 years.
I think that's what
That's the
maximum.
biggest piece of crap.
Maximum.
Up to 30 years.
You
minimum.
should get 30 years for one aggravated child abuse.
Minimum 4 years.
What?
Well, here's the thing.
There's no way.
Yeah. They
Oh my gosh.
they could be
They'll
out.
be
what?
dead before they
But
get
it
out.
was 20. It was just last year, right? 20 was it 2024? All this when they got,
20.
Yeah, they.
or was it 23 when everything
actual
got
arrest.
finalized?
How
So
how is that possible that the torture that they implied on their children is longer than the sentence they're serving in prison?
Right. Well, and that's so in the book, because I was trying to figure it out, and Sherry talks about it in the book, and she said that they were served 4 counts and that they were to serve these terms consecutively, but it was each 4 to 15 years. So I didn't know if that translated into minimum of 16 years, max of 60. But then Sherry mentioned it in her book. She said she could be out in 4 years.
So I understand why. So she was given 4 consecutive sentences of 1 to 15.
Yes.
So minimum 4, because it's 4 sentences of 1 year at least.
Oh, was it 1 to 15?
1 to 15, but it's 4 of them.
Oh, okay.
So that's why the minimum would be 4 years.
4 to 60 years.
But the
then.
most would be 60 years. Yeah. So each count carries 1 to 15 years depending on behavior, parole board decisions, and rehabilitation. Since the sentences are consecutive and not concurrent, Ruby faces a minimum of 4s but could serve up to 60.
If I was a guard, I'd punch myself in the face and say she hit me.
Yep.
Every time. Every
Bad
time.
behavior.
And it's the same thing for Jody too. She got the same sentence,
Yeah, good.
from what I understand.
Well, she was.
Yeah.
No, not good. It needs to be more than that.
Well,
Oh, yeah. It should
well,
be-
I get-
it sh-
no, she needs the same. Yes, I mean, yes, she was influencing.
I
but
meant
they were-
no. I meant
as a
for
whole.
I meant for both of them. They need to they need to be gone. They don't need to be let out.
Go make them sleep on concrete
Yeah,
floor.
Yes.
those two don't
In
need
their
to
own
be.
little room.
I'm sorry. There's a special place in hell for them, and they do not be out.
Well, the
need to
most
get out of
current
jail.
news with it, March 20th, 2025, so this year, the divorce was finalized
Yes.
between Ruby and Kevin.
Yes.
Yeah. Golly.
And I think the
Finally found his sack or what?
I haven't finished the book fully.
Hopefully he's seeing a real therapist now.
I've got a few.
The guy in the documentary, I like that guy.
Yeah. I got a little bit left in the book, and it's to the point now where Kevin is actually trying to mend his relationship with the kids and stuff. and Sherry's actually gone back and is talking with him.
That'd be hard.
I feel
man.
like
Dude, my
all this
nephew met
stuff.
Chad like a few weeks ago.
really.
Yeah. He was, I don't know where I can't remember where he
all
was.
right?
Yeah, he's gone viral on
Yeah,
TikTok
he's got
and it shows him
TikTok.
happy and like having
Got
a
a
good
girlfriend
time.
or wife or somebody
He's-
like that.
Yeah, like, and my nephew met him like just barely after the
And the
documentary
kids.
came out because my nephew watched it.
So who's got the kids?
Dad.
The other
Dad has the kids.
I think
Yeah, he got full custody.
of the four youngest,
I don't
really?
know if I like that.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that.
for a while there, Sherry had custody.
She should keep custody.
She was able to have custody and stuff, but yeah, I believe the dad's got full custody.
Yeah,
now.
it
She
should.
she should have full custody.
But I'm sorry, like it's so difficult because I know the dad was. I mean, whether you like it or not, the dad was brainwashed and abused as well.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's an adult, and I feel like there was at a point or another, and he even mentioned in the interview, he said, "I was their last."
Yep.
Yep.
I was their last
Line of defense.
line of defense.
He said,
and I left.
And
Yeah.
well, he says I failed, didn't he?
Yeah.
no, he says, the interviewer asks him, do you feel guilty? He says, absolutely. I was the last line of defense for these children, and I packed my bags and left.
Yes.
So why would you trust yourself enough to be able to have your kids?
Exactly.
I mean, you
maybe
have
maybe
remorse
some
and-
form of like
Dude,
penance. He's
you
trying
can
to like.
you can fix. I mean, I
Your
feel like-
penance is not getting your kids.
I know.
I mean, in this situation though, I mean, you got
Sorry.
DCFS, and I'm sure he's proved that he's a very liable parent now and can be with the kids. And
I know.
I'm sure things have
I
changed.
hope the best for the whole. I
And
hope
that's
the best.
I truly think
the
that
children.
he's remorseful
for the children,
and stuff.
yeah.
But
I
at
don't
the
give a
same
shit about him,
time,
but for the children, yeah.
with everything that went through, I feel like there was one point or another where he could have put his foot down and chose not to.
1 point. Yeah.
Well, look,
Yeah.
Like 100.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
The,
So many points.
All the points.
Ultimately,
Porcupine.
the word that I can think of that purely describes Kevin to me is just flat out pathetic.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just pathetic.
right from the beginning, the fact that he had to study that board to,
Like, yeah.
to learn
What
how to
kind
win
of
her
man
over.
are you?
No.
You're not.
Pathetic.
So, sorry on this. So, it was saying, so yeah, they Kevin was awarded full custody of the 4 minor children and retained ownership of the Springville, Utah home. The settlement also addressed financial distributions, with Ruby retaining $85,000 she withdrew post separation. So
They let her keep the money.
Yep.
She should get no money.
yeah, like holy crap.
She should get a bullet, is what she should
I
get.
But I thought it was interesting. So Sherry, I guess, is like a big activist for family vlogging now.
Against family vlogging.
Against it, yes.
which
Yeah.
what does
And
that, I was
understandable.
actually going to ask you too about that. What does that pertain? Has anything gone through?
It's just the
They
new
have-
law.
Well,
There-
they have a new law now where, and this law is so stupid, but it is, from what I understand, is if the vlog generates more than 150 grand, then 15% of the cash revenue needs to be put into a family trust dedicated to the kids as like employee compensation. But it's so funny to me because I see an immediate, and maybe there's more to the law, but immediately from even my perspective, it's like, okay, so the parents go out, turn their business into an S Corp, and now they only make $75K a year.
Yeah.
Hey, shh.
You know what I'm saying?
But I mean,
know
honestly,
exactly what
It's
you're saying.
exactly a loophole. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, we don't make that much.
and it's crazy that it's such a high number you have to wait for.
Yeah.
And that's
Like-
and that's the other thing is I told Jess, I'm like, look, you and I know that our kids are in our videos as much as some of the other channels that are making millions.
Mm-hmm.
But yet we aren't held liable to anything, which we still do. I still pay my
Well, that's
kids
just smart.
An employee. They're
it's a-
contracted employees.
Yeah, it's a tax write-off, and you're setting your kids up for the future. You're
Yeah.
giving them a college fund. You're doing all this stuff. Like if you're making money on a vlog that includes your kids, you should do it no matter what.
Yeah.
There
and
shouldn't
so
have to be a
we're-
law for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing it. So I don't feel guilty at all. But it's like there are families in a similar situation that aren't, but they're not held to it liably because the law doesn't pertain to them.
Right.
And it's like, okay, so your law that you just pushed through does zero.
It's just to say we're doing something.
Yeah.
Look, another funny thing with that law is it says that individuals who are featured in online content as minors have the right upon turning 18 to request the removal of such content from all platforms. It's like, but what if you do it with your 3-year-old and then 15 years later, hey, I want that taken down. Like,
That's fine.
right?
And that's just mine and Jess's mentality is if our kids want anything taken down, no problem.
Well, I guess my point is it's just funny that that's thrown in there.
Yeah.
Like, it makes sense for kids who are teenage, you know.
I mean,
but
if
but
our
young
kids
it's
requested
like,
a video tomorrow, like, hey, this kid made fun of me and I don't like this video, fine. We'll take it down to
I
like
know.
right now. It's not a big deal.
Right.
Yeah, there's no amount of money that I want to make that would make my kid ever uncomfortable.
Right.
And that's
Cause
the situation.
turmoil for him or anything.
Yeah, there's no point, man.
Right.
There's no need.
Situation here. Both of them, mom and dad, they chose money over the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Money
a
and
lot more than
lifestyle.
money, but yeah.
Yeah, a lot of money and lifestyle over the kids. But I hope and pray that, let's say 10 years down the road, Ruby gets released. She's out. I hope and pray that Kevin looks at her and gives her the middle finger and says, you will not see these kids ever again.
I just hope they take care of her in prison.
And I mean, 10 years down the road, the youngest ones will be over 18. So, I mean, hope the kids, even
Dude,
at that point.
I
I
feel
just
so
hope there's
bad.
no, I don't know. Me personally, like I just, and detailing what Sherry said and everything, I just hope there's no reconnection between her and the kids. Like, I'm sorry, but,
Yeah.
Right.
and this thing that people can change and blah, 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 nah, you dug your grave on this one.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, at least for now, the story is ending on a higher note, although my heart absolutely bleeds for those young kids. Who knows what kind of psychological trauma they've, taken.
They got a long road.
They got a long road to recovery, and
I feel like it's amazing though what kids can do, because
They can.
we were talking about a story not too long ago where kids were involved and it was years ago and they're all adults now and they're all like thriving good adults.
I wish and I pray for nothing but the best for those kids. Man.
Yeah.
They deserve the world and more after what they went through.
Right.
It's just
There are things, and I mean, all of us here at this table believe in a higher dominion, God himself. And I firmly believe that with kids like this, when this stuff happens, I believe that somewhere, some way, God throws a thing over it and allows them to be able to grow.
veil.
Yeah.
Willy
Something-
Wonka
something
rolls
in the
out and
way-
hands him a golden ticket.
I
Is that what
mean,
you're saying?
something in the
Well,
way
I
that
think-
allows them to grow up.
I think
just
he gives
block it out.
He gives them protection.
Yeah,
Oh,
a
yeah.
protection so
When
they
I-
can still have a normal life. Granted, you might not forget, but at the same time,
Right.
there's going to be things, I guarantee you.
They
the
still got a
youngest
hard
kid-
road though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As they grow up, they're like, hey, I heard this happen to you. Like, what happened? You'd probably, honestly, I don't remember half of it.
Yeah.
I believe there's a blocker there that something is.
Well, I think these kids go on to change the world in some way too.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
Yes.
like
Touch the world. a little
help.
bit.
They help protect other people from this
Right.
I
stuff.
look at Elizabeth Smart.
Yeah.
So
Well, and the weird thing about all this is I am still friends with Kevin Franke on Facebook. Like friends.
yeah, good.
Yeah.
Can we
And so-
message him right now and say, hey, douchebag?
Hey, bro, you wanna come to a barbecue?
Yeah.
I mean, we
It's in the
could.
mountains. It's very quiet up there.
I just I don't know. I hope if any of their Frankie families listening, I wish the best for you guys. I hope Kevin, I hope you grow up, man. Grow some balls. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, that's
What was our hashtag?
horses.
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 hashtag
WHORSES. Horses.
A little bit of horsepower.
Hers purrs.
Goodness gracious.
Anyway, heavy subject, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. If there's any details we missed, please feel free to share below down in the comments.
This was a long one, so hope you guys stuck around and enjoyed it. And so
It's just a heavy hitter. So off to some lighter things. Go binge watch some of our happier podcasts, and we'll see you guys here next time. Bye, friends.
Love you guys.
Ciao.
Arrivederci.
And thanks for being part of this crowd.